What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 6TG. Chapter 92 The Battle for the Number 1 Swordsman. Zorov's Hawkeye. Chapter 92 The Battle for the Best Swordsman. Zoro vs Hawkeye. Holy Land Mariajoy. The 5 elders who saw this scene were all dumbfounded. An illusory storm passed by, and the condensed forces of the world government and marine fell in an instant. That's not what shocked them the most. The most shocking thing is that Luo En's conquerors Haki crushed Kong, Garp, Sengoku, and Aokiji. Crush 1 against 4. The 5 elders couldn't accept it. How is it possible? How can Rock's conquerors Haki be so powerful? Nashorang Sheng exclaimed, finding it difficult to accept. Even if the opponent is Rock's, he finds it difficult to accept it. That's 4 people's conquerors Haki joining forces. We can't resist it for a moment. Doesn't it mean that even the 5 of us can't compete with his conquerors Haki? Saint Wuchuli was frightened and his eyelids were twitching. Mo Sheng was stunned, and suddenly thought of something even more terrifying. If he activates the tyranny to this extent, how terrifying would it be? This level of conquerors Haki is unprecedented and unheard of. How did Rocks become so powerful? Mo Sheng himself was a little confused, and even a little unimaginable. Saint Satan suddenly realized something and said in confusion, will Ancient Saint Green be his opponent? If it were Rocks back then, Ancient Sage Green might have been the trump card. But now facing such terrifying Rocks, is the Ancient Saint Green really his opponent? It should be able to be solved. Otherwise, we will only wake up the sleeping adults. Biter said in prayer. 747. I am, who is sleeping, is not aware of these changes in the sea. Otherwise, I would have been unable to sleep for a long time. Dressrosa. The scene was silent. After Luo En Haki said those words, no one dared to stand up and oppose it. Invincible posture, looking down on everyone. Standing there, Haki was even more exposed. In the distance, Kaido, who was rushing here, paused, the expression on his face kept changing, and he was confused. Sir, was it Conqueror's Haki? Jin widened his eyes and asked in disbelief. This was definitely the most powerful Conqueror's Haki he had ever seen. The Beast's Pirates members behind them also fell into the powerful Conqueror's Haki. Even, that Conqueror's Haki is stronger than Kaido. Who is it? The world government has sent out very powerful guys. Kaido frowned and thought deeply. The moment that aura passed over him, Kaido was truly shocked. The very strong Conqueror's Haki puts Kaido to shame. But at the same time, Kaido is even more curious, who can unleash such a powerful Conqueror's Haki? How is the strength? Anyway, Kaido didn't expect it to be Conqueror's Haki that Luo En broke out. To this day, he still treats Luo En as a weakling, but little does he know that Luo En has already begun to kill everyone. On the other side, the Whitebeard pirates landed, and many crew members fell under the shock of Conqueror's Haki. What's going on? Is this a warning to us? Josie looked at the fallen figure behind him in bewilderment. Why were they attacked by Conqueror's Haki just after they landed? Dad, what a strong Conqueror's Haki. Marco's face was full of shock, and he was full of curiosity about the source of Conqueror's Haki. Who released Conqueror's Haki? Gyula Lala, it's not a shock, it's just in time for the opponent to take action. This breath of Conqueror's Haki is very strange. Whitebeard's eyes were full of solemnity, and he couldn't help but look up at the tallest building in the center of the island. The person who took action must be there, right? Dad, are we still going forward? Marco asked in a low voice. This level of Conqueror's Haki made him feel heart palpitations. So, how strong is the person who broke out Conqueror's Haki? Marco couldn't imagine it for a moment. It seems that he has never encountered such a strong opponent. Marco, you pick 5 captains to follow Lousy and have a look. The rest are waiting here. Whitebeard couldn't hold back his curiosity in the end. He really wanted to know the outcome of today's battle, see Luo En, and then know who the person who broke out Conqueror's Haki just now was. As for whether Whitebeard will participate in the battle, it's really hard to say. But the rest of the journey went very smoothly. After all, the marine soldiers and world government soldiers had been stunned by Conqueror's Haki, and there was no way to stop the Whitebeard pirates. Whitebeard, Marco, Josie, Saki, Beasta, and Izo shuttled through the jungle and quickly headed toward the battlefield in the middle. This is impossible. Kong came back to his senses and said through gritted teeth. He couldn't accept this fact at all. Why is the other party so ridiculously strong? Garp's face was so gloomy that it was about to drip with tears, and he suddenly shouted at Ace and Luffy, you 2 bastards, get here. If you follow him, you will be killed. Spade Pirates, Vice Captain, Ace. Ace just responded. He felt Luo En's serious attitude. This battle is definitely not just for fun, Luo En has been inspired to become serious. Since the captain is serious, how could he, the deputy captain, slip up? After all, Ace is the only deputy captain. I didn't expect you to become so much stronger. A soft voice came, and then Ancient Saint Green led 2 members of the Knights of God out from behind Sengoku. The Shichibukai next to them were still in a state of confusion. Doflamingo's expression was full of horror. How could this guy named Luo En be so strong? That was Conqueror's Haki, where 4 people at the peak of their strength broke out, only to be crushed to pieces. Doflamingo was severely hit by the scene just now. His level of Conqueror's Haki is completely insignificant in front of them. At this time, Doflamingo has not yet mastered the level of Haki. Hawkeye clenched the black sword in his hand, his face more solemn than ever before. He finally knows why Luo En is wanted by the world government as the world's strongest man. No one could ever give him that aura of fear. Hawkeye recognized Luo En's strength. Sengoku slowly turned sideways and asked Green Ancient Sage to stand in front of Feng. Luo En raised his head and calmly confronted the Ancient Sage Green, but a sense of oppression in his aura naturally formed. All the hidden guys from world government have shown up. It seems like you really spent a lot of money this time. Luo En said quietly, expressionless. It seemed that he was not surprised at all when he saw the Ancient Sage Green, and even recognized him. Ancient Saint Green suddenly understood that it was indeed Rox. Now I don't even pretend to be pretending anymore. Luo En's unintentional act further confirmed his identity as being blindly guessed by the world government. Who is this person? Luffy tilted his head and asked in confusion. Why are there so many strange old grandpas showing up? Are they good at fighting? Luffy didn't understand. You haven't retired yet at such an old age. Marine and world government are really lucky. Garp, is this your grandson? Ancient Sage Green suddenly turned his head slightly and glanced sideways at Garp. A sharp light flashed in his eyes, and the threat was self-evident. If your grandson chooses to continue doing the right thing again, don't blame me for being ruthless. Luffy, Ace, get here. I say it for the last time. Get here. Garp's eyes twitched and he immediately gritted his teeth and yelled angrily. Ace frowned, always feeling that something was wrong with the old man today. Luffy was so frightened by Garp's appearance that he shrank his neck reflexively, and then said, Grandpa, I am a man who wants to become the Pirate King, and there is no way I will back down. No matter what happens, nothing can stop me. Luffy said very firmly. He resolutely chose his partner, Luo En. So, Captain, can we take action now? They've been unhappy for a long time. Zoro pulled out 3 knives and bit them in his mouth, his eyes showing an unprecedented determination. Here he saw the man. The world's best swordsman, Hawkeye. That's the guy he's been challenging. For the sake of the agreement with your partner, let your name resound in heaven. Oh, is the target me? You're a very courageous little guy. Hawkeye felt something in his heart and turned to look at Zoro. Luo En, what do you say? Dory and Brigitte both looked at Luo En, waiting for him to give instructions. Unknowingly, Luo En has become the mastermind of both teams. Dory, Brigitte, you have one last chance, don't be stubborn. Otherwise, you will pay an unimaginable price. Sengoku suddenly spoke and threatened again. Despicable guy, shut up lousy. Dory retorted mercilessly and showed no face at all. Sengoku's face turned blue and white, looking very ugly. Huh, I can't describe how I feel now. Luo En took a step forward, slowly exhaled, and said calmly, if I have to say it, it's a bit exciting because today, in this world, all of you will witness how terrifying the beasts around me are. Zoro, are you ready to become the world's best swordsman? Luo En turned to look at Zoro, with a wild smile on his lips, and said loudly. Captain. Dot has been prepared for a long time. The corners of Zoro's mouth curved into an evil expression, and the 3 knives were wrapped with a coquettish purple light, and his figure suddenly rushed out. Hawkeye, take action. 3 swordsman style. Purgatory Ghost Slash. The demon in Zoro's body seemed to have awakened, giving everyone around him a sense of demon, like the incarnation of Shira from hell, filled with an indescribable aura. But there is no denying his power. HMPH. You will pay the price for your actions. Boy, don't underestimate your opponent. Black Saber Yi unsheathed, Eagle Eye said coldly, like an eagle's pupils shrinking slightly, and then a strong momentum burst out, and green light lit up Black Saber Knight's sword. Then, Hawkeye's figure rushed out fiercely. When? Airflow collision. Blades against each other. Zoro looked at Hawkeye who was so close, and became more and more excited, his will to fight became stronger and stronger, and his whole person seemed to be in a transcendent state. Finally met the opponent of my dreams. Less than. I won't lose. Quote. Zoro murmured in a low voice, and then burst out with powerful slashes, engaging in the most violent confrontation with Hawkeye. When Zoro's fight started, everyone else moved too. Golden flames spread from Ace's arms. Luffy bit his arm, Haki wrapped around him, and directly turned on the 4th gear. Luo En suddenly turned to look at Luffy and said with a smile, Luffy, let go of your hands and feet, nothing in this world can restrain you. Luffy nodded blankly, not knowing. By Luo En means. 3.8 Only Luo En knows that from Sabayati Archipelago to now, the strength of all members has changed. Luo En believes that Zoro will become the world's best swordsman today, under the witness of Kong and the others. Of course, there is something even more terrifying. Luo En wants Luffy to drive 5th gear. Based on his understanding of Luffy, Luffy is now able to do it. With the help of life-giving, Luffy's overdraft consumption is not a problem at all. The key is to see when Luffy realizes his true strength zone. Next to Nami, thunder floats. Sanji's demonic wind kicks burned without warning. Next to Brook, something from the underworld was summoned, exuding a chilly coldness. Usopp took out his slingshot, and a seed quietly appeared in his palm, rubbed it into the net bag, and slowly opened the battle. The arms behind Robin turned into wings, making her figure float slowly. Frankie summoned a mecha and Wu Ling transformed. Chopper took out the ultimate blue wave ball and swallowed it in one gulp. Chopper has transformed. The ultimate blue wave ball is the most perfect blue wave ball. One of his rewards is that it allows Chopper to exert his strongest power without any side effects. Duration 1 hour. Luo's surgery light wave appeared in front of him, but his eyes were fixed on Doflamingo. Perona summons ghosts to surround herself. Buggy looked left and right, as if choosing his opponent. Don't be kidding, even if his strength increases, he will not choose Sengoku, Aokiji, etc. as his opponents. The Spade Pirates are all ready to fight. Chapter 93. Everyone arrives. Who dares to touch our king? This will be a fight without any scruples. Luo En has a surprise for everyone. Thought lousy was rocks. Sorry, there are scarier things than lousy being rocks. Everyone, fight. Following Luo En's order, everyone took action. At the same time, the giants led by Dory and Raji also launched an attack. The surrounding marine generals gathered around and stopped the giants. A sharp light flashed in Kong's eyes, and he ordered coldly, "Get them." As soon as the words fell, Kong took the lead, and his mountain-like figure suddenly rushed out and headed straight for Luo En. Rubber Ape King Crow Cannon. Luffy, who transformed into Elastomon, suddenly appeared in front of Kong, and blocked Kong's path by firing wildly with his arms. Frontally, Sengoku and Garp led everyone to attack. Sengoku couldn't help but transform into the form of a giant Buddha, with golden light shining all over his body, full of majesty. Garp clenched his iron fist tightly, with Conqueror's haki wrapped around his fist, and his eyes looked fierce. Aokiji's cheeks were covered with frost, and his whole body was surrounded by a terrifying chill. Hancock and Jinbei followed closely, and Doflamingo gritted his teeth and rushed forward together. Now world government and marine are his hope, since Kaido hasn't arrived yet. Hey, who allowed you to attack our captain as soon as you came up? Explosive kill destroy nuts. Attack speed 100 times increase. Usopp pulled down his goggles handsomely, stretched the slingshot, and the seeds with doubled attack speed burst out, turning into a huge nut as tall as a person in the air. The nut was covered with black, and suddenly flashed red, like a giant nut in front of Sengoku and the others. It exploded suddenly like a bomb, sending smoke and dust billowing. The Sengoku people who were rushing forward paused and inevitably slowed down. They didn't react just now. They didn't expect Usopp's attack to be so fast. The wind and clouds are surging, and the layers are dancing wildly. The bright thunder flashed in Nami's hands, controlling the thunder and lightning in the sky to land suddenly. Thunder fruit user. Aokiji's eyes narrowed slightly, and cold air surged in his palms, forming an ice shield above him to resist the blue thunder. Big Buddha shock wave. Waves 05 filled the air in Sengoku's palm, and a white wave of destructive light suddenly shot out. Energy decomposition. Buggy jumped in front of everyone, light surged from his hands, intercepting all Sengoku's shock waves. Just when the two sides were about to test each other, Sengoku and others suddenly stopped. They sensed someone's presence. The two members of the Knights of God led by Ancient Saint Green did not make any move from beginning to end, and were completely watching quietly. Ancient Saint Green's eyes fell on Luo En from beginning to end, and he felt a great threat. He still hopes that someone can inflict consumption on Luo En and he will take action to kill him. Because now, he has no confidence that he can kill the opponent. However, the appearance of a group of people disrupted the rhythm of the battle again. Oh, hey, it's so lively. Doflamingo, there are so many friends here for you. A tall figure with a sharp head and a mace, Ba Jai Jia, came slowly. Kaido led Jin, Jack, Foz Fu, Sasaki, Run-T, and Peggy Wan from a distance. Beast's pirates arrive on the battlefield. Sengoku's eyes narrowed. Kaido. Why are you here? It's you, Doflamingo, you contacted Kaido. Sengoku instantly understood what Kaido had just said. It turns out that Doflamingo's partner is Kaido. What a hateful guy. Sheesh. Sengoku, you have hidden too many things. Lousy cannot completely trust you. Doflamingo quickly retreated and came to Kaido's side. Although Kaido is also unreliable, Doflamingo still chooses to trust this partner compared to world government. After all, Kaido still needs artificial demons from him. Doflamingo, you'd better understand your choice. If you ally with Kaido now, you will become the enemy of the world government and marine. Sengoku warned with a sullen face. Marshal Sengoku, I'm afraid we can't be enemies now because we still have a common enemy that we haven't solved yet. It won't be too late to talk about things between us after we kill the Spade Pirates. Doflamingo looked up and looked in the direction of Luo En, verbally named their biggest enemy. The cadres of the Don Quixote family came behind Doflamingo and asked the Beast's pirates to form an alliance. Doflamingo, who released that Conqueror's haki just now? Kaido's eyes fell on Ancient Saint Green, full of solemnity, and he slowly asked. He didn't expect that the old guy who had solved rocks had actually left Mariajoy. World government's actions this time were too arrogant. It's Luo En, Doflamingo said in a deep voice. What? Kaido was shocked. Turning to look at Luo En, his eyes were full of disbelief. Did you release Conqueror's haki? How can it be? How can Luo En be so strong? Are all bounties real? Kaido couldn't accept it for a while. The mace hit the ground hard and he shouted. Boy, come and have a showdown with Lousy. 4 Emperors Kaido. Things are not easy to handle. Ace's eyes flickered as he looked around the battlefield, feeling a little heavy in his heart. Originally, the joint attack of Marine and World Government was strong enough, but now there is another 4 Emperors pirate group who wants to attack Luo En, and the situation is not good. Shishishishish, Marshal Sengoku, how about we cooperate first? Doflamingo raised a sneer at the corner of his mouth and slowly looked at Sengoku. Sengoku glanced at Kaido, who was extremely hostile to Luo En, and then turned to look at the Green Ancient Saint. The latter nodded imperceptibly. Sengoku then said, "Okay, as long as the Spade Pirates are eliminated, this time Marine can let things be bygones." Although he promised so, no one could be sure whether what he said was true or false. Kaido wanted to test Luo En's strength at this time, but he was still wary of the Green Ancient Saint in his heart. After hearing Sengoku's words, he didn't want to be used as a spear user by Marine. "Kaido, I promise that I will not take action against you," Ancient Sage Green said quietly. He naturally saw Kaido's hesitation and said immediately. To be honest, he really has no interest in Kaido. On the contrary, I want to see Kaido take action against Luo En. How will Kaido feel when he finds out that Luo En is rocks? Thinking of this, Ancient Sage Green turned to look at Luo En's expression, wanting to see if there had been any change when he faced his former crewmates. Was he still not planning to reveal his identity? "Kaido, you asked for this." Luo En raised his head, glanced at Kaido calmly, and said slowly. The Spade Pirates and the Beasts Pirates have no grievances, but now Kaido leads his men to attack Luo En, which means he is seeking death. "Oh, hey, you brat, I'm afraid you won't have the courage to say these words in a while." Kaido laughed wildly, and then a flickering arc of electricity flashed on the 8 rings in his hand. Conqueror's hockey twine. There are no bells and whistles, the attack is domineering and the battle is quick. "Luo En, you have no advantage now," Sengoku said coldly. The golden light on his body became even brighter, and the shock wave in his palm condensed again. "Ace, don't be stubborn. Following Luo En will get you killed," Garp persuaded slightly anxiously. "Old man, Luo En is our captain. There is no need to say anything else." Ace shook his head, rejected Garp again and then looked at Luo En and asked, "Captain, what are the plans next?" "Leave Kaido to me." Quote. "Everyone, let's play with them first," Luo En said slowly. His tone was calm and not in a hurry. Now that Kaido shows up, he doesn't mind Hiruzen Seryu. But now that the momentum is at its peak, Luo En will not do anything casually. The opponent's Ancient Saint Green has a high opinion of himself and is waiting for the opportunity to take action. Luo En will never take action. Pretending. Can you pretend better than lousy? Young ones, let them know how powerful Beasts Pirates are. Kaido laughed loudly, swung his mace and struck out suddenly. The thunder in front of him tore apart, and his domineering power exploded. Ace's eyes were slightly cold, the bursting red flames on his arms rose up, a huge fire fist formed, Conqueror's hockey then wrapped around him, and Tai rushed towards Kaido without fear. Sanji activated the Demon Wind Kick, intercepted Jin flying in the air, and stopped it. Dori and Raji waved their weapons to intercept Sengoku and Garp who were charging from the other side. "Sengoku, stop for lousy. I will make you pay the price today," Dori shouted angrily, stopping Sengoku in his giant Buddha form. Garp's punch landed on Raji's shield. "Garp, don't even think about it," Raji said coldly, swinging his axe to chop it down. "Brgy, don't blame me for being rude." Garp's face was full of anger, and the explosive force on his fist became more violent, hitting Raji like a violent storm. He was really angry. Nami controlled thunder and lightning, dragging Aokiji's figure. Chopper became extremely huge, and his strength and defense were significantly improved. He hugged the rampaging Jack, and the two sides began to compete for strength. Chopper never plays low-end games. Frankie fights Jinbei. Buggy's opponent is Hancock, and Luo, with red eyes, kills Doflamingo. A long time, I didn't expect you to be alive. After Doflamingo saw Luo, his smile gradually became arrogant, full of coldness and cruelty. "Doflamingo, I won't die unless I kill you." Luo expanded the op fruit field, teleported in front of Doflamingo, and slashed with his sword, revealing his sharp edge. However, with a transparent silk thread lying in front of him, Flamenco laughed softly. "You just want to kill lousy. You are still so naive." Colorful threads. Doflamingo suddenly launched an attack, with colorful threads thrusting out from bottom to top. Luo quickly dodged, gritted his teeth, and charged again. Robin, Brook, and Perona all took action. However, there are too many enemies to intercept them at all. There were 4 of the Fei Lubao, as well as the cadres of the Doflamingo family, and they were completely suppressed in terms of numbers. Senju flowers bloom 10,000 Buddhas come to the ancestral court. Robin's body glowed with a faint light, and the shadow of a tall Senju Buddha suddenly appeared behind him, as if filled with flower fruit's ability, it gradually solidified. A Senju giant Buddha located in the battlefield is even larger than Sengoku's giant Buddha form. Facing the enemy rushing forward, it directly explodes Senju technique under Robin's control. The endless arms surrounding the Buddha suddenly shot forward in an instant. The range of the attack was so large that it intercepted all the cadres of Fei Lubao and the Don Quixote family. Bang, 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 bang. It was like a Wing Chun fist, falling quickly and swiftly, more like a shower of rain that wouldn't stop for a moment. Fozzie Fu and others quickly turned on their animal form and relied on their strong power to transform into beasts. The powerful physique resisted Senju 10,000 Buddha's technique. Diamante turned into a flag and fluttered to avoid the attack. Pika directly merged into the ground and began to charge forward. Torrebel was in the rear and didn't take any action at all. The rest of the cadres were beaten badly during the attack. The power of Robin's move was so powerful that even Foz Fu, Sasaki and others within the attack range were unable to resist and couldn't help but retreat. Pika shuttled past and quickly appeared in front of Robin to attack Robin's body. He, go to hell. A sharp sound came out, and Pika's huge figure jumped high and rushed towards Robin. Must kill. Violent green star. 100-fold increase. Usopp took advantage of the situation and launched an attack with 100 times the speed of fire. A seed grew into a vine and wrapped around Pika's body. The vine was still growing rapidly, doubling in size. Robin controlled a palm and violently whipped the Pika away. Seeing that Robin was about to take control of the battlefield alone, Ancient Saint Green narrowed his eyes, released a cold and terrifying light, and snorted softly. The one-eyed black-armored man holding a long sword beside him raised his head slightly, and violently erupted under his feet. His figure shuttled through the air very quickly, leaving an afterimage invisible to the naked eye, and a powerful sword strike. Light then streaked across the sky. Like scattered radiance, it formed a huge slash and slashed down towards Robin's Senju Buddha. The strong sword light passed through and cut Luo Chen's attack in half. What a powerful slash. Robin was slightly surprised and couldn't help turning his head to look at the man with 1303 eyes. His aura was a bit strong. The moment Robin's Senju attack was shattered, all those who had been suppressed rushed forward. Thunder surges. Nami's hands burst out with intense thunder and lightning, and the thunder shuttled, replacing Robin's attack and filling the entire battlefield, instantly intercepting all the enemies swarming forward. Little girl, you are so brave. A touch of cold air appeared in front of Nami, and Aokiji's hand condensed into ice spikes, and he stabbed out with an expressionless expression. Aokiji was surprised that Nami dared to be distracted from fighting with him and attack others. Why? Look down on Marine Admiral. However, a slash from Huang Quan came from the side. Oh ho ho ho, Miss Nami, here I come. Brook appears in front of Nami and resists Aokiji's attack. Suddenly, a powerful momentum rose into the sky. Garp condensed Conqueror's Hoki's entangled punch and aimed it at Brigi, hitting him hard. Galaxy Fist Bone Impact. Garp exploded completely, not wanting to waste any time, and unleashed an extremely fierce punch. The air exploded, the arc flashed continuously, and the violent impact caused Brigi's shield to change shape. Brigi urgently entangled Baden, but there was still a big gap between his strength and Garp. The attacks from both sides collided, and Brigi was finally hit hard on the ground. Boom! A huge crater appeared in the field, swallowing Brigi's figure and filling the air with smoke and dust. Garp walked out with a gloomy face and walked towards Luo En step by step. The one-eyed man who had just taken action appeared next to Garp, and walked towards Luo En with Garp. What? Brigi? Dory's face changed drastically. He didn't expect that his partner would be defeated by Garp as soon as he appeared on the stage. Luo En frowned slightly. He always felt that Garp's state was a little abnormal. Where does Garp's deep hatred for him come from? Strange. But no one can stop Garp now, especially since there is a strong swordsman who is not weaker than Hawkeye beside Garp, who is threatening Luo En. Old man, don't do it. Ace yelled anxiously, trying to stop Garp's actions, but Kaido didn't give him a chance. Boy, in this chaotic world, not everyone is qualified to be king, 5th emperor. I don't know who gave you the courage. Kaido sneered, and Bajai blasted out without mercy. Ace's eyes flickered, and he was secretly anxious. If Luo En takes action, Garp may not be able to withstand it. And just when Garp was about to take action against Luo En, a huge golden warship suddenly landed in the sky, penetrated the clouds, and appeared above everyone's heads. Golden City. With a bang, the Golden City landed on Dressrosa, crushing countless marine soldiers to death. Ha 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 ha. Lousy Golden Lion. Anyone who touches Captain Lousy will die. The Golden Lion jumped down from the sky with a wild figure and laughed arrogantly. Hey, Lousy hasn't arrived yet, who dares to touch our king? Crocodile emerged from the quicksand. Chihehehe. Spade pirates, joined the Moonlight Moria. Mariah's figure slowly solidified among a group of shadow bats. At this point, all members of the Spade Pirates have arrived. Chapter 94 Bet on your life. Garp becomes useless. Golden Lion Shiki, Crocodile, Moonlight Moria, 3 superpowers appear. The Golden Emperor Tesoro followed closely behind, laughing and saying, ha ha ha, it's so lively, it's really not in vain. Tesolo, Golden Emperor, you actually joined forces with the Spade Pirates to fight against the world government. Kong's face was full of anger, staring at the sudden appearance of Tesolo. However, more people's eyes still fell on Golden Lion. The legendary pirate Golden Lion, Shiki, was once a crew member of Rocks and a great pirate who competed with Roger. Shiki, how's your injury? Garp was stunned and looked at the powerful Golden Lion in disbelief. It was clear that both the other party and Kizaru were seriously injured, so why are they completely fine now? What on earth did he go through? Garp had endless doubts in his heart. Sengoku had a sullen face and shouted coldly, Shiki, you have taken refuge in him again and you still can't explain his identity. You don't want to act anymore. Who can make Golden Lion Shiki a crew member? Of course Rocks. At first, Shiki didn't admit it, and now he wasn't ready to return to Rock's ship. Sengoku immediately wanted to understand the relationship and became more certain about their guess. Shiki. Kaido's eyes flickered, he didn't expect that this guy would actually become Luo En's crew member. What on earth was he thinking? What is the magic power of Luo En? How can it make so many people surrender? Kaido was shocked and confused. Ancient Saint Green's face was cold, and he could no longer hold back and wanted to take action. He seemed to feel that if the situation continued to develop, it seemed that the situation would be very unfavorable to them. Behind Golden Lion and the others, a dozen vice admirals from the giant race rushed out and jumped high from the golden ship. Sengoku. In order to prevent us from knowing the news, he even put us under house arrest. Is this what Marine did? I announce that first we'll quit Marine from today. That's right, Captain Dory. We are going to join the giant pirates. We will fight for the giants, chanted the giant vice admirals. Ha ha ha, okay, welcome you back and join us. Dory laughed heartily. Brigitte climbed up from the pit. The situation was not bad. Ahem, everyone who was brave, the giants will be proud of you. The giants were very excited to see their comrades who had left come back. Only Marine looked very ugly. How did they escape? Ghost Spider said in surprise. Damn it, are they going to be our enemies? The flying squirrel gritted its teeth, looking very solemn and unwilling. We were once comrades in arms with the giant vice admirals, but now we are enemies. No one feels good about it. Damn it, you actually ran out without permission. Sengoku's face was completely gloomy, and his eyes were filled with angry flames. He never imagined that the imprisoned Marine vice admirals would actually appear at this moment and stand on the hostile side. The situation was not good. Ha ha ha, Sengoku, you Marines have really gone too far. You imprisoned your general for no reason. Lousy can't stand it anymore. Tesoro snapped his fingers and laughed regardless of his appearance. Everything is his plan. Bringing out these Marine vice admirals can already give Marine a heavy blow. Originally, Tesoro wanted to cause a scene in Marineford, but Crocodile and Mariah were concerned about Dressrosa's situation and rushed over without any explanation. Tesoro, you are really looking for death. Kong kept shouting angrily. He cannot accept Tesolo's betrayal, he is a dog of the world government. Kong. This time, Lousy will stand up. F***K world government. Lousy is not the dog you call around. Even if he is a dog, he will bite you to death this time. Tesolo said viciously, there was gold flowing around him, and his face looked fierce. Holy land Mariajoy. The five elders looked at each other. No one expected that at such a critical moment, Golden Lion, Crocodile, and Moria would appear. Even that bastard Tesolo chose to betray. They also released the Marine vice admirals from the giant race. It seems that Rock's identity cannot be escaped. The Golden Lion has indeed become his crew. Saint Nasharang said with murderous intent, his face cold. In their view, Golden Lion's actions undoubtedly verified their suspicions. Little did they know that it was their wrong guesses and actions that led Golden Lion to join the Spade Pirates. That bastard Tesolo, after today, the world government will completely eliminate him. Saint Wuchuli said coldly. The five elders were very angry at Tesolo's actions. They believed that everything in Tesolo was given by them, so bad dogs dare to bite people. But now, Shiki, Crocodile, and Moria have all appeared. I'm afraid no one can help the ancient Saint Green consume Luo En's power. Saint Moshe said worriedly, just wait and see what happens. Saint Peter finally said, today's situation is no longer under control. Kaido joined originally as an ally, but then Golden Lion and others appeared, and the situation seemed to begin to reverse. Kaido, I didn't expect you to have the guts to attack Lousy's captain. The Golden Lion looked at Kaido and smiled strangely. The two sides who were fighting just now closed their battle lines in an instant and resumed fighting on a regular basis. Only Luffy and Zoro's fight didn't stop. Kong has strong strength and is suppressing Luffy in the fight. But Zoro showed that he was evenly matched with Hawkeye. Hawkeye, who was originally dismissive of Zoro, became more and more frightened. Zoro's strength simply exceeded his expectations. How on earth did he become so strong in swordsmanship at such a young age? Eagle Eye is incomprehensible. Doflamingo's face became increasingly ugly. All things happened because of him, but all the current events have nothing to do with him. Like a clown. Joker is both the ace and the clown. Doflamingo is the clown at this time. Especially the strength Luo showed just now surprised Doflamingo. What kind of training method does this King Spade pirates use? Everyone is young. Calendar District. One over there was fighting with Hawkeye back and forth, and there was another who was restraining Kong and couldn't get away. Now tell him that even the legendary pirate Golden Lion is part of Luo En's crew. Doflamingo really wanted to flip the table and stop playing. Shiki, I haven't seen you for so many years, and you are nothing more than that. Kaido laughed, not taking Shiki seriously at all. If it was back then, he would still have some respect for the other party, but now, Kaido is already the superior four emperors. You should be lucky that Lousy's target this time is Sengoku and Garp, otherwise he would have killed you with his own hands. Shiki smiled coldly, showing disdain. The strongest creature. At first he was just a trainee pirate on the ship. Luo En, there's no point wasting any more time. I want to learn about your strength. Ancient Sage Green stepped forward step by step, looking at Luo En. What if I get rid of them all? Luo En glanced at the green ancient saint, then chuckled at everyone around him. Calm words, not like a joke. Oh, wow, what a shameless brat. Kaido sneered disdainfully, suddenly feeling that Luo En didn't seem that strong anymore. Oh, you want to try? Ancient Sage Green narrowed his eyes and asked provocatively. If Luo En wants to fight more than once, Ancient Sage Green will naturally be happy. Luo En, leave us some opponents. Captain, Lousy wants to kill Sengoku and Garp himself. I'm going to fight Admiral Doflamingo. I will definitely take revenge with my own hands. Captain, it's really not good for you to deal with everyone by yourself. Crocodile finally retorted in a low voice. Didn't they come here in vain? At this moment, everyone was angered. They were angered by Luo En's arrogant attitude. But Luo En ignored those people and just said to his companions, in this case, I will make arrangements. At this time, the giants were joined by the giant marine vice admiral, and they had gradually gained the upper hand on the battlefield. Brigitte suffered some injuries, but they were not fatal, and he was able to continue fighting due to his physical strength. Luo En looked around the battlefield, preparing to give accurate battle instructions to everyone. Ace suddenly asked beside Luo En. Luo En, the old man is Luffy and I's grandfather after all. Although we don't know what happened to him, he originally supported us, so can he. Let Luo En keep his hand. Ace knew that no matter what the result was, Luo En would do it himself. The horror of Luo En is unknown to the world. Even Conqueror's Haki, who just unleashed such a crushing level, some people are taking chances and think that Luo En is just pretending to be powerful, or the real combat effectiveness is not that strong. Okay, Brook, leave Garp to you. Remember, just delay until the battle is over. Yohohoho, Ace, don't worry. Brook comforted Ace. I don't know what methods he has prepared, but he seems confident even when facing Garp. Golden Lion, don't you want revenge? Then I have to hand over Sengoku to you. Remember, failure would be too embarrassing. Luo En joked. Ha ha ha, Captain, don't worry, they will definitely fail this time. Golden Lion Shiki said with extremely strong confidence. Ace, I leave Aokiji to you. Okay. Ace's arm burned with flames and golden light shone. After this period of improvement, Ace is confident of defeating Admiral. It was a tie with Akainu last time, but it will definitely not be the case this time. Lao Sha, Moria, Jin and Jack are left to you. Nami, you deal with Hancock, Sanji, and Jinbei. Brother Dory, Brother Brigitte, Chopper, you guys deal with Fei Lubao. Buggy, Absalom, Mr. 1, Mr. 2, Mr. 3, go kill the Don Quixote family cadres. Robin, Usopp, help Luo take down Doflamingo, remember, use the wolf spot. Perona, you play it by ear. Luo En's continuous arrangements clearly planned out all his opponents. Only Kaido, Ancient Sage Green, and the two people around Ancient Sage Green did not arrange to confront the people. Captain, that Kaido guy. Moria looked hesitant and applied actively. You have to leave some fun for me. Luo En waved his hand and refused Moria's request. Kaido is a domineering and powerful person. Except for Ace and Luffy, Crocodile would not gain anything from facing Kaido. On it. I don't know who shouted first, and then everyone rushed out at the same time, all attacking the people Luo En arranged for them. Crocodile and Moria rushed towards Jin and Jack angrily, wanting a quick fight. Sengoku, let you know how powerful Lousy is. Golden Lion's aura was fully activated, and his momentum became very terrifying. That guy, is he stronger again? Kaido muttered in a low voice. Road. Sengoku looked at the Golden Lion in disbelief. Shiki, how could your injury heal so quickly? What did you do? Golden Lion's injury actually healed. Sengoku really can't understand what is going on. Backquote Sengoku, stop talking so much nonsense. Shiki entangled Haki under his feet, kicked out sharp slashes, and blasted towards Sengoku. This time, Ji came with the determination of revenge. Sanji activated the demon wind kick and blasted towards Jinbei. If there is no accident this time, no one should interfere with their battle. Nami controls lightning and fights Hancock. Ace and Aokiji fight, and the collision of ice and fire continues, completing the first battle with no outcome. Dory, Brigitte, and the gigantic chopper directly surrounded 4 of the 6 flying cells, and the 3 huge figures launched a violent attack in the middle. Buggy, Mr. 1 and others took action against the Don Quixote family Pika, Diamante and others. As for Doflamingo, Robin and Usopp, Luo took the lead and rushed to the front. But unlike before, with Usopp's sniper assistance, Doflamingo was instantly suppressed. 100 times the attack speed, 100 times the volume, and endless seeds, it's impossible to guess the outcome. Doflamingo is even a little in a hurry, and Usopp's sniping ability is definitely one of a kind. Flow. From the very beginning, Observation Haki has shown strong talent, and now with the multiplier fruit, he is fully qualified to become a powerful combat power. Besides, Usopp is the 4th guy to board the ship after all. He has experienced all the way to this point. Underestimating him will definitely be the most regretful thing for the enemy. What's more, Robin was still on the sidelines and joined forces with Usopp to exert control that made Doflamingo doubt his life. So, it doesn't have anything to do with me. Tezzolo walked up to Luo En and said in a puzzled tone. Luo En looked at Tezolo calmly, and said with a smile, I need you to do your old job. There will be a gambling game later, and you will host it. Bet. With whom? Tezolo was obviously stunned. Of course with them, I'm going to play an interesting game with them. Luo En smiled and walked forward, his eyes sweeping over the ancient sage Green and Kaido. Come on, it's really pointless to fight and kill. Are you interested in betting? Luo En had already walked up to ancient sage Green, his eyes still calm. Ancient Saint Green frowned, not understanding what Luo En wanted to do. In other words, he doesn't know what the rocks is up to. Kaido came over suspiciously and said curiously, what are you going to bet on? Tezolo had already, Zhao, built a gold table with gold under Luo En's instructions. A gold chair appeared behind Luo En, and Luo En sat on it easily. Go, and then smiled slightly and said, whatever, you can bet whatever you want, bet whatever you have, of course, money is nothing. We should do something different, gamble our lives. Stop joking. Boy, are you scared? Kaido's expression suddenly changed and he stared at Luo En fiercely. He suspected that Luo En wanted to avoid fighting in this way. Tell me, how to bet? Ancient Sage Green said. Luo En crossed his legs, pointed at the battles around him and said, it's very simple, just point out the battle between two people and guess the winner. Both sides bet. Arms, legs, eyes, noses, and even lives can be used as bets. The winner takes the loser's bet. How? Luo En looked at the few people with a smile. He didn't know why the idea of this bet came to his mind. Maybe it was because of the appearance of Golden City that gave Luo En a different idea. What if the loser refuses to hand over the bet? Kaido asked subconsciously, curious about this novel bet. Then it depends on whether the winner has the strength. If the loser doesn't give it, then the winner needs to get it himself. Luo En explained with a chuckle, looking calm and content. Okay, Lousy will play with you. Kaido slammed Hachiji into the ground and stood next to him. Ancient Sage Green nodded and said, it's an interesting game that doesn't depend on the product but on your strength. I'd like to see how you can win. He also joins the gambling game by default. Okay, just agree. Luo En turned to look at the battlefield, and then said, the first round. I bet Garp will lose his fighting power and become a useless person within 1 minute. Bet. Right hand. When Ancient Sage Green and Kaido heard Luo En's bet, they couldn't help but widen their eyes and glanced at Garp's battlefield in disbelief. Garp's fists were powerful and he beat the underworld creatures back steadily. Lose combat effectiveness and become a useless person in 1 minute. What AF asterisk king joke. Chapter 95 Brook kills Garp instantly. 5 elders collapses. No one thought that when everyone was fighting for their lives, Luo En would actually make such a ridiculous bet. Moreover, it is a bet that relies on strength to speak for itself. What's the point of winning or losing? Ancient Saint Green was full of questions. Especially for Luo En's first bet. Garp destroyed in 1 minute. It's nonsense. Even if Ancient Saint Green takes action himself, he dare not say that he can solve Garp in 1 minute. How much experience does it take to solve Garp in 1 minute? Such an event simply cannot exist. Ancient Saint Green looked away from the battlefield between Brook and Garp, thinking silently in his heart. But he didn't show any attitude. The one-eyed man in black armor next to him slowly said, I use my right hand to bet that Garp won't have any problems within 1 minute. Ancient Saint Green would not be stupid enough to charge on his own. Kaido looked dumbfounded on the sidelines. There is no need to gamble on this kind of question. You can tell at a glance that this is impossible. What happened to Luo En? Is there something wrong with your brain? Can Garp be destroyed in 1 minute? Unless everyone goes to attack Garp now, it might still be possible, but it's impossible to do it with just that skeleton. Kaido had already made up his mind, but he didn't say anything. He really wanted to take a look. The bet is established, Tezolo said from the side. Both sides pressed their right hands, and most did not participate. Next, it depends on the result. Luo En shouted at Brook. Brook, in 1 minute, I have pressed my right hand. Brook in the distance stopped summoning the underworld creatures, stretched out 2 skull fingers towards Luo En, and said confidently, 20 seconds. Puff. Everyone almost fell down. Brook versus Garp actually said it would be resolved in 20 seconds. Funny, so funny. No one believed Brook and Luo En's harmony. After Garp heard this, he became even more furious. Conqueror's wrapped iron fist punched the Ghost Rider from underworld in front of him and blasted him away. The Ghost Rider exploded, turning into green fluorescence and returning to Brook. From just now, Brook has been absorbing the power from the underworld. At this time, it finally reached its peak. A cold power filled his bones, and faint green flames burned in his eye sockets without warning. And the bones of his body began to glow with a crystal green luster, as if his whole body was burning with green soul flames. In this case, his bones suddenly became a little illusory, as if they had lost their shape, and his lower body turned into a smoke shape and gradually floated in the air. Brook took his own skeleton and transformed it into a soul body. And this is his best. Can pull out the enemy's soul. Brook 800 became like a ghost at this time, without any sense of threat. Garp didn't even care about it. He only wanted to kill Luo En. Who would have thought that Brook actually hid a trick to kill Luo En? The lightning on Garp's fist exploded again, and he punched forward to end the battle. However, the fist penetrated Brook's body without causing any damage, not even the slightest ripple could be seen. It was like Garp's punch, completely hitting the air pressure. Brook is no longer in this dimension. Brook floated past, right in front of Garp. The illusory skeleton palm flashed with green fluorescence and lightly patted Garp's chest. Garp felt a tingling sensation in his brain, and then he felt relieved. When he just came back to his senses, he felt a erratic feeling in his body. He immediately looked down and was stunned for a moment. Garp's body, no, his soul should have left his body, floating in midair with a faint green light. Garp's body was falling from midair, and was caught by the palm made by Robin, and was placed lightly on the ground. Ace has just asked for everyone's help to deal with Garp. Without hurting Garp but having nothing to do with Garp, Brook's move was the only one to leave his body. Brook borrowed the power from the underworld to transform himself into a soul. Garp, on the other hand, separates the soul from the body. Normally, the body will be injured if it is attacked. As for the time for soul recovery, it needs to wait until Brook's power is exhausted, and both parties will automatically return to their normal appearance. So now, Garp has really become a useless person. He has no soul attack methods at all. To put it bluntly, Tianku's current role is worse than that of Perona's ghost. After all, negative ghosts have negative effects, but Garp can't do anything except scare people. Garp's soul held his head in his hands with a collapsed look on his face. Ah, what did you do to me? Damn skeleton. Garp felt like his head was buzzing. Ah ha ha ha. Grandpa has become a ghost, ha ha ha. Luffy did not forget to laugh heartily while fighting. He had never seen Garp look like this. It was so funny. Garp's old face turned red, and with anger burning in his heart, he abandoned Brook and drifted towards Luo En. Brook really did it. The old man can calm down now. Ace breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. Aokiji's eyelids jumped at this scene. The marine hero Garp, who is deeply loved by Marine, has become like this. Who dares to believe it? Luo En, what did you let him do to me? Change me back. I can't spare you. Garp yelled angrily. Although he has become a soul body, he still has a voice. This is his only method. Because he raised his fist, but it passed through Luo En's body. He couldn't hit anyone at all. Now Garp's body is the most fragile. Kaido was confused. What method is this? What ability does this skeleton use? Kaido's eyes were filled with shock. Something that I was so sure was impossible just now has happened now. 20 seconds. Did it take 20 seconds? Kaido felt that Garp was eliminated in 10 seconds at most. I don't know whether the title of Fast Man should be given to Garp or Brook. After all, both of them were less than 20 seconds apart. Especially this method for souls reminds Kaido of a person, Charlotte Linlin. 4 Emperor's aunt, a person with real abilities in her soul. But even if Big Mom extracts the soul cannot exist so completely, so Kaido is very curious about Brook. What kind of powerful devil fruit did he take? The most important thing is that Brook's entire body has become a soul, completely ignoring all attacks. Anyone who sees this method will shake their head. Can't fight, can't beat it, unreasonable and soul for one. Then the one with the body left is completely useless, just like Garp now. Kaido suddenly realized that what Luo En said about Garp becoming a useless person was exactly what happened now. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Kaido looked at Luo En differently. The arrogance and disdain in his eyes disappeared, replaced by more exploration and curiosity. Yohohoho, Luo En, you have successfully completed the mission. This state can last for at least 5 hours. During this period, you can do anything to the bodies of Ace and Grandpa Luffy. 17 Brook floated around behind Luo En, claiming credit. Just his words caused the expressions of everyone present to change slightly. Garp Soul's face turned the color of pig liver. He wanted to tear Brook apart with his hands. You bastard skull, what do you mean by doing anything to my body? Don't talk nonsense to me. Ancient Sage Green was stunned and speechless. The scene before him was not only beyond his expectation, but also beyond his cognition. He boasts that he has seen many bizarre things on the sea, but today is the first time he has seen this kind of situation and this weird ability. You are obviously a user with the Underworld Fruit ability, why do you master this ability? Ancient Saint Green frowned and looked at Brook, and asked in a deep voice. That gaze was full of fear. If the target of Brook's attack was not Garp, but him, his soul and body were now separated, wouldn't his body be left to his own devices? The body is not immune to harm. Of course, everyone can see the limitation of Brook's skill at a glance, that is, it can only be activated on one person at the same time. Ho 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 ho, I'm not just a simple underworld fruit, Brook said arrogantly as he floated around. He just said this without explaining anything in detail, which made Ancient Saint Green even more uncomfortable. I just felt like there were ants crawling all over me. Luo En always had a smile on his face, as if everything was planned by him, and he said calmly, you lost, as if he had a chance to win. You lose, so hand over your right hand. The loser has to pay the price. Tezzolo barely recovered from this shocking scene, his mouth opened wide, and the shock on his face could not be concealed at all. It's so scary. It's so scary. How is this possible? At first, Tezzolo thought that Luo En was just randomly opening a gambling game and placing bets. Anyway, Luo En said it depends on the strength, not the gambling products. Tezolo's first thought was that Luo En wanted to use strength to intimidate the opponent. AFCJ. Anyway, even if he loses, nothing can be done to him. Now it seems that it was completely wrong. Luo En is just teasing and toying with each other. Too cruel. At the same time, Tezolo also had to admit that Brook's ability was too pervert. Brook combines with anyone to kill one person. In a 2-on-1 situation, there is absolutely no chance of failure. Winner. Luo En. Loser. Hand over your bet. Tezolo looked at the one-eyed black armored man, and clearly saw the man's slowly receding expression of astonishment. At the same time, the one-eyed man in black armor held the long sword with his right hand slightly, preparing for battle. Are you kidding me and asking him to hand over his right hand? Absolutely not. Want my right hand? Come and get it yourself if you have the ability. The one-eyed man raised his sword, pointing directly at Luo En, with a look of indifference in his eyes. To take away his right hand in this situation is simply more difficult than climbing to the sky. Luo En's enemies are all around the gambling table. And the ancient Saint Green is personally in charge. What can Luo En do? Ha ha ha. Luo En, you are really right. With strength, not gambling, world government is ready to cheat. Kaido gloated and laughed at the side, quite intent on fanning the flames. He was secretly glad in his heart. Fortunately, he didn't place a bet just now, otherwise the flames of war would be on him now. Everyone smiled and said, what I said only applies to me. You don't follow the rules. Are you qualified? The words fell. Luo En's figure on the golden chair has disappeared. At the same time, a more ruthless voice sounded in the air. I want Lousy to take the bet in person, but it will be doubled. The sound is not loud, but extremely clear. The word reached the ears of the one-eyed man in black armor, and the other man's hair went down. Standing upside down, he retreated as if facing a formidable enemy, his cold single eye filled with fear. He has no idea where Luo En is. Swish. Less than a second, it seemed as short as a moment. Luo En's figure reappeared on the golden chair, with his legs crossed and looking at the opposite side with a smile, as if nothing had happened just now and he had never left the golden chair. Same. But behind him, there were 2 more bloody arms on the ground. Luo En said that if he asked for it, it would be a double bet. The one-eyed man in black armor blocked one right hand, so Luo En had to take both of his hands. In fact, he took off both arms. Ah, the one-eyed man collapsed and fell to the ground, crying bitterly. If it was just pain, with his training, he would be able to endure it. But the key is that Luo En's terrifying and ruthless attacks severely broke his psychological defense, and his whole person collapsed. His self-confidence was severely destroyed. The price is 2 arms. Losing 2 arms makes you almost a cripple. The pain in his body and the despair in his heart directly caused him to collapse. Yuan Hao did not care about his image. If Luo En had taken his life just now, it would have been easy. But there is no way. Who makes Luo En's gambling good? When you say double your bet, you double your bet. Ancient Saint Green was stunned on the spot. The moment he sensed Luo En's move, he was ready to take action. However, he had only raised his arm halfway when Luo En had already finished everything and returned to his original position. Ancient Saint Green was stunned and couldn't do anything. He was extremely horrified in his heart, and his eyes showed great fear. What speed is this? What kind of Weishi is this? Cold sweat fell from Ancient Saint Green's forehead, and he lowered his arms tremblingly. The 2 members of the Knights of God he led, except for Conqueror's Haki, were completely admiral level in strength. But now, Luo En has disabled both arms in the blink of an eye. What's even more terrifying is that I didn't even feel the trajectory and attack method of Luo En. What is Luo En's strength? How could he be so strong? Even if he is rocks, he can't be that strong. Ancient Saint Green's face twitched, and he fell into great shock for a moment. Kaido's Hachiji fell hard to the ground, but he suddenly didn't know what to do. He opened his mouth wide and shouted in horror, what just happened? Kaido didn't even see the scene clearly before Luo En finished everything. Extremely fast. Super strength. Kaido even said that even if Luo En wanted to take action against him, it would only take a moment. He is a little confused now. How can Luo En be so strong? Isn't his bounty 5.5 billion? But his strength is nothing like 5.5 billion. World government lies. This thought suddenly came to Kaido's mind. I thought the world government lied about the bounty, but I did. But now I feel that the world government has underestimated it. The bounty is too low, which is really fatal. Kaido finally recognized Luo En's strength, and it was so terrifying that he could only look up to him. Just for a moment, Luo En showed his ability to instantly kill Admiral. Use the combination of stealth, extreme speed, and op fruit to end the battle instantly. Luo En's move just now was not only chic but also chic. Garp collapsed and floated in the air, with an expression on his face that he had seen a ghost. What did he see? A member of the Knights of God had his arms chopped off by Luo En in an instant. The most important thing is that the opponent's strength has no room to fight back in front of Luo En. Ancient Saint Green didn't even have time to take action. Garp even didn't see any of Luo En's movements clearly. Garp is completely stupid. Luo En is hidden too deeply. He's been toying with world government and marine. When his identity as Rocks was exposed, he used this bet to shamelessly humiliate everyone present. This is his way of revenge. Garp had already understood in his heart, but at this moment he was left powerless and was so shocked that he could not speak. Being impacted by such a strong scene, the defense in my heart collapsed a bit. Tezzolo stared blankly at the two arms on the ground and swallowed. Oh my god, what kind of strength is that? Tezzolo roared crazily in his heart, and everyone was numb. He just felt that the Spade Pirates had huge potential and wanted to cooperate with them to do something big, but unexpectedly, he picked up a trump card. Green Ancient Saint. Knights of God. It's all rubbish. Luo En can pick off someone's head with just a few gestures of his hand. The most important thing is that Luo En still looks calm and composed, the arc of the smile at the corner of his mouth is always 14.5, he doesn't say anything, he just sits there and thinks of himself. The mournful aura slowly spread. Invincible posture. Chapter 96 Zoro. The world's best swordsman. A name that resounds throughout heaven. Invincible appearance. Shock everyone. It seems that Luo En has the word invincible written on his face. Holy land, Mariajoy. The 5 elders who saw this scene through the video phone were shocked and lost their expressions one by one, and completely collapsed. At first, when Luo En opened a gambling bureau, the 5 elders only thought it was funny, but later, it completely subverted their understanding. What on earth did he do? Mo Sheng yelled in disbelief. 5 elders became a little nervous when they saw Brook and Garp trading for one. Garp is one of the top combat forces, but he was eliminated at the beginning. It's hard for 5 elders to accept. But then, something even more difficult for them to accept happened. Luo En cut off the arm of a member of the Knights of God. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Even rocks can't possibly have this kind of strength. Saint Bachuli shook his head fiercely, saying that he didn't want to believe what he saw. It's just like King Dream. No, it's not that far-fetched. Damn it. How on earth did he do it? How could he cut off both of Granado's arms at such a fast speed? Saint Nasharang's mind was full of questions and he was confused. Granado is the name of the one-eyed man in black armor, a member of the Knights of God. Members of the Great Knights of God will become useless from now on. They couldn't accept such a sudden change. You can't see his movements at all. He has always been hiding his strength, and even what he shows is just the tip of the iceberg. Rox is just playing tricks on the world government. Asshole, this is his road to revenge. Satan Saint was shocked, roared, his expression was so angry that he couldn't calm down at all. Saint Wachuli stood up suddenly and said, if this continues, something big will happen. Please wake up, sir. He felt a great crisis. If everything is under Rock's control, then the only person who can change the situation is the sleeping I am. Otherwise, let's wait and see how Ancient Saint Green handles it. Saint Moshe advised uncertainly. Yes, the consequences of waking up the adults are not something you and I can bear. Saint Nasho Lang also advised. Let's take a look. Be ready to wake up the adults at any time. At the same time, send out troops to prepare to meet the Ancient Saint Green and the others. Mozzie finally decided not to wake up I am. Well, in this situation, if Rock's strength is as terrifying as he showed, there may be no need to respond. With his hatred for the world government, he will not let everyone present. Waokyu Li Sheng knew the consequences of waking I am, and sighed, with a bitter smile on his lips. What if there are still changes? Peter Saint said with a lucky mentality. During the discussion, everyone's eyes were on the screen again, continuing to watch what would happen next. Luo En finally no longer chooses to hide his strength, but exposes it without reservation, choosing the most explosive way to let everyone realize Luo En's strength. Ancient Sage Green and Kaido were stunned and speechless. Garp's face was shattered and he was speechless. Tezzolo recovered from the shock, tried hard to control the shock in his heart, and calmed down. Ancient Saint Green was already a little confused. Hearing the screams coming from behind, he frowned, showing an impatient look, and brushed his hand on the handle of the knife, drawing the knife very quickly. Draw the knife and put it away. The next second, the one-eyed man who was screaming and wailing died here, completely losing his life. The man holding the 2 swords beside Ancient Saint Green remained silent. Ha ha ha, Sengoku, have you seen the strength of Captain Lousy? None of you can run away today. Golden Lion laughed arrogantly and launched a mad attack on Sengoku. Sengoku was greatly affected by Garp and the bet he just made. I didn't expect that Garp would be directly restricted by that method, and I didn't expect that the hidden Luo En would be so terrifying. Sengoku's heart collapsed. The entire battlefield has undergone tremendous changes because of Luo En's actions. The morale of the Spade Pirates is high, and the morale of the Giants is high, but their opponents are naturally desperate. Ace, Crocodile, and Mariah became more and more courageous as they fought. Even if they are fighting, they can still pay attention to the gambling game opened by Luo En. Luo En's purpose is to put pressure on everyone here, so they must know everything that happens in the gambling game. At first glance, it seems to have had the expected effect. We will move to the second game. Luo En said calmly, looking at the battlefield, looking for the target of the gambling game. Luo En's eyes lit up when he saw the duel between Zoro and Hawkeye. In the second game, I bet Zoro will defeat Hawkeye and become the world's best swordsman. Bet. Lousy's life. Lousy's life. Luo En bets his life that Zoro will become the world's best swordsman. What courage. What trust. Green Ancient Saint was stunned. Damn it, you're just risking your life on the second move. Kaido narrowed his eyes and remained silent. From the beginning, he thought this bet was unfair, but at the time he thought it was unfair to Luo En, so he agreed to play it. But later, Kaido discovered that Luo En's strength was simply unfair to him. Luo En gambles his life, but he is very courageous. But have you ever thought that even if you win the bet, who can take away Luo En's life? Kaido calmed down his previous arrogance. He didn't have the confidence anyway, so he pretended to be deaf and mute and would never participate in this unfair gamble. And you bet your life on the second one. It's too much fun. Kaido not only looked at Zoro curiously, but also wanted to see what kind of man Luo En could make a bet with his life. In fact, no one knows that in Luo En's opinion, Zoro is the one who should succeed the most. There is no cheating, no devil fruit, and no modification technology. It is all about practicing step by step with perseverance. His increased strength is all washed away by sweat. Zoro is definitely the one who should succeed the most. Zoro is a man recognized by almost everyone. And now he is attacking towards his goal. Ancient Saint Green's expression changed, and he finally turned to the member of the Knights of God who was holding two samurai swords to join the bet. I bet on Hawkeye to win. I bet on my life. The man whispered. He has great confidence in Hawkeye. The three strongest titles in the world. The strongest man. The strongest creature. The strongest swordsman. The strongest swordsman is Hawkeye. Being able to get this title says everything. And even if Zoro is the captain of Luo En, how powerful can he be with his age? It is absolutely impossible to defeat Hawkeye. Even the ancient Saint Green felt that Zoro could not be Hawkeye's opponent. Kaido's eyes were full of suspicion. His thoughts this time became cautious, especially for the guy who asked Luo En to risk his life. How could it be simple? Could it be that the title of the world's strongest swordsman is really going to change hands today? Kaido thought to himself. When Luo En saw that ancient Sage Green and Kaido didn't dare to gamble, the smile on his face was a bit sarcastic. It turns out that people, no matter how high they stand, are always greedy for life and afraid of death. In the distance, the battle between Zoro and Hawkeye intensified. The collisions became more intense every time, making both sides' momentum continue to rise. Zoro. Get him. Lousy will use his life to bet that you will become the world's best swordsman. The strongest swordsman. Luo En stood up slowly and shouted in Zoro's direction. This is absolute trust. Whether someone can take his life is one thing, but whether he dares to gamble is another. Bet with your life. When Zoro heard Luo En's words, he felt as if he had taken a reassurance in his heart. The smile on his lips slowly spread, as if the devil in his body was reviving, and his aura became more and more monstrous. Captain, I will not let you down. Zoro responded with a laugh. The scene when Luo En found him appeared in his mind. Luo En, Ace, and Zoro were the first friends to meet in the dojo. At that time, no one knew that they would reach this stage, let alone that they would grow so fast. The slogan that day still vaguely echoes in my ears. I'm waiting for the day when you become the Pirate King and the world's best swordsman respectively. Let the names of all of us ring through the sea, and through the heavens. This was Luo En's declaration at that time, and Zoro still remembers it clearly. Some time later, after Zoro saw the power of the monsters in the sea, although he did not waver in his goal, he still felt tremendous pressure. But he did not expect that the pressure would soon be broken by strength, and now, he is competing with Hawkeye for the title of the world's best swordsman. Ha 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 ha. Lousy. I said before that you are the world's best swordsman. Roar Noah Zoro. Kill him. Luo En waved his arms and shouted, now no longer in his normal state. Zoro is going to become the best swordsman in the world. This is something that many people have been looking forward to from the very beginning. Being able to witness this day will mark the end of many youths. Because of Luo En's shouting, everyone's eyes involuntarily focused on the battle between Zoro and Hawkeye. Are you kidding? That guy Mihawk will lose to that brat. Kong snorted coldly, not believing it at all. Hawkeye's reputation as the world's best swordsman was not picked up on the road. Challenge Hawkeye. I'm afraid it's impossible to defeat Hawkeye. Aokiji said coldly, his cheeks covered with frost. Haha, then you are wrong. Zoro will definitely defeat Hawkeye. Ace chuckled, his words full of strong confidence. Zoro is so powerful that even Ace is convinced. Because Ace has witnessed Zoro's way of cultivation since he met him. He is practicing all the time. Apart from practicing, he just rests and sleeps. It seems that Zoro has no other hobbies except drinking some wine, outside. Ace is impressed by his perseverance. Really, we'll have to wait and see. Ice emerged from Aokiji's hands and he suddenly shot out. Ace raised his arms to resist, and both sides' attacks slowed down invisibly because they were paying attention to the outcome of the battle between Zoro and Hawkeye. Who can win? Everyone is looking forward to it. Eagle Eye, from the day we went to sea, you have been the target that I want to surpass. So, use all your strength. What I want to defeat, as you, the fishiest one. Zoro's whole body burned with a strong purple aura, and the ground beneath his feet collapsed under the load, and a powerful aura suddenly erupted. He was going to perform the ultimate kill. The eagle's eyes were slightly focused, and the blade of the black sword flashed with a brighter green light. The sharp edge seemed to cut through the surrounding air. He stared at Zoro with his eagle-like eyes and said lightly, Roar Noah, I remember it's your name. Among the challengers, you are a very strong opponent, but that's where it ends. I am at the peak of my swordsmanship, and with my sword. In the name of how, suppress all swordsmen. Hawkeye's face was sullen, and his expression was terrifyingly gloomy. Luo En's words and Zoro's attitude completely angered Hawkeye. The black knife in his hand trembled and stirred at night, as if he felt the owner's anger and wanted to turn the world upside down. A big fight. The yellow falcon-like eyes shone with a terrifying light, like a sharp sword energy, making the stones on the ground around him tremble slightly, and the momentum was extremely terrifying. Haha, are you starting to get angry? Then show your true strength. Don't be defeated by me just like that. Zoro's smile looked a bit ferocious. There was no movement on Hawkeye's face, but his aura became more and more frightening, and his voice was emotionless as he said indifferently. You succeeded in irritating me. Let's fight to the death. Hawkeye slowly raised the black sword Yi, pointed it straight at the sky, and its sharp breath rose into the sky, like a sword blade disrupting the dark clouds in the sky, revealing the light above. The slash concentrated by Eagle Eye gradually formed. The turquoise light forms a crescent-shaped slash-like light, and if viewed from the front, it looks like a turquoise silk thread vertically in the air, a very thin line, the gaze. Looking at it, the sharp edge pierced the eyeballs, causing pain. Zero. Kong, Aokiji and others in the distance felt a little dazzling. Zoro's body was filled with ghostly aura, and his aura became more and more violent. In the purple aura, Zoro transformed into a Shira form with 3 heads and 6 arms, like a demon god coming to the world. The 9 swords flashed with sharp edges, and their momentum suddenly exploded with Zoro's whisper. Ghost energy 9 sword style. Ashura. Draw your sword. The dead talk nonsense, and death is like a song. The play of death fades. The sword aura around Zoro surged, and the aura became more and more terrifying. The sharp sword aura was no weaker than the aura of Hawkeye. Zoro even had a kind of Shira ghost aura that could intimidate everyone even more. At this scene, the guys around who were not optimistic about Zoro fell silent. The 2 tit-for-tat sharp edges formed a chaotic field. Traces of cuts began to appear on the ground, and even the turbulent seawater had somewhat broken light and shadow. The secret of swordsmanship ultimate sword slash. Hawkeye's voice was low, holding the knife in both hands, and rushed out quickly. At the same time, he waved his arms, and the black knife knight and the slash that could split the ground suddenly fell. Zoro's devilish figure rushed out in an instant. It was as if there were only 2 colliding sword lights and slashes left between heaven and earth, and nothing else. The 2 most powerful swordsmen in the world unleashed the strongest blow. Slash, crash, when, boom. The endless storm spread in an instant, rushing countless fierce sword energies, cutting everything around, and the dazzling white light made it difficult to see the situation in the center of the battlefield. It's just that the sharp collision at the center of the storm is getting stronger and stronger. Finally, at a critical point, the balance limit was broken, and all the turbulent sword energy began to disperse everywhere. This proves that the winner has been decided on the court. The dark clouds in the sky had long been pushed away by the sword energy, revealing the bright blue sky and the high sun, giving the island the long-lost light. On the battlefield where everyone was standing, the ground beneath their feet was even more dilapidated, forming a ruins. There was no intact building around. The strong impact just now made everyone see how powerful Zoro is. Even being able to push Hawkeye to this point is enough to prove Zoro's power. Kong, Sengoku, and Aokiji all recognized Zoro's power, but they still subconsciously thought that Zoro would not be able to do it. Defeat Hawkeye. The storm in the field slowly dissipated. 2 figures were revealed. It is still the scene after the classic swordsman duel, with both sides facing away from each other. Roronoa, I remember your name, Hawkeye said calmly, his voice containing an emotion of recognition. At the same time, the dark clouds dispersed in the sky, and a bright light happened to hit Eagle Eye. Just like in the arena, the lights shine on the winner. Ace's face darkened, and a bad premonition emerged in his heart. Did Zoro lose? Sanji and Crocodile both looked worried. Only Luo En, the smile at the corner of his mouth exceeds 14.5 degrees, smiling wildly, feeling extremely happy in his heart. Zoro, how could you lose? Yes, it seems that it will be difficult for you to forget it for a long time in the future. Not only you, more people will know my name. I will let my name resound to heaven. Along with Zoro's declaratory oath, Hawkeye's body slowly fell. Thump. Hawkeye fell to the ground. The howling wind seemed to be still at this moment. Ancient Sage Green and Kaido looked at Hawkeye's fallen figure in shock, their eyes almost popping out of their sockets. Chapter 97 Wake Up I Am. The sun god is close at hand. Everyone in Dressrosa witnessed a shocking swordsman duel, and the final result was beyond most people's expectations. The world's greatest swordsman, Hawkeye, was defeated. Roronoa Zoro, defeat Hawkeye. Kong's eyes were dull, he looked at the fallen Hawkeye in shock, and whispered in disbelief, Roronoa. Who is he? Kong was confused at this time. Someone actually defeated Hawkeye with swordsmanship. Originally, he was very optimistic about Hawkeye, but he was disappointed in the end. Sengoku looked gloomy and said angrily, damn it. Failed again. Today's battle left Sengoku speechless. Who would have thought that the first person to fall would be Garp? His best partner, the marine hero, became the first person to lose strength in this battle. Next up is Hawkeye, the world's best swordsman. Could it be that the other party is really an unknown person who doesn't want to be killed? Sengoku was stunned for a while. Well done, Zoro. Luffy shouted happily. Some people are sad and others are happy. Well done, green algae head. Sanji congratulated sincerely. Worry for nothing, Zoro, you have fulfilled your original vow. Ace exhaled lightly and relaxed. The battle between Zoro and Hawkeye stopped all fighting in the field. At this time, everyone was digesting an unacceptable scene. Mihawk actually lost. Damn it, who are the Spade Pirates? Why doesn't Kaido dare to take action now? Doflamingo whispered angrily, his eyes filled with dew. He was getting really angry. Why are these guys so powerful? There are people who can kill Garp in 20 seconds, and there are people who can kill Hawkeye with a sword. What kind of monsters are they? Doflamingo's mentality is about to explode. Hawkeye lost. Hancock's beautiful eyes flashed, showing deep shock. What happened today had a huge impact on her. 327. Jinbei said nervously with fine cold sweat on his forehead, that guy defeated Mihawk in swordsmanship. He looks so immature, it's really unbelievable. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, Jinbei would never believe it. The scary guy. Jin gritted his teeth and said with a solemn face. It's getting worse. Sengoku frowned, considering the situation. Ha 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 ha. Have fun. Boy Zoro. K him. Golden Lion laughed heartily, and his laughter seemed extremely arrogant. Slaying Eagle Eye with the sword is really a gratifying achievement. Crocodile had a smile on his lips and took a puff of his cigar. Hehehehe. I killed Hawkeye, that's amazing. Moria laughed and praised. Zoro's performance inspired all of them and boosted their morale. Zoro. Well done. Usopp jumped up and cheered. The greatest swordsman in the world, Zoro. Nami crossed his arms and looked at Zoro with a smile. Haha, we achieved our goal ahead of schedule. Robin covered his mouth and laughed softly. Zoro. Supper. Frankie shouted excitedly. That's great, Zoro. Chopper was so happy from the bottom of his heart that his tone changed. Ha ha ha, what a terrifying swordsman. Roronoa, become the world's #1 swordsman to replace Hawkeye. Dory raised his arms and shouted. Immediately afterwards, the giants began to shout in unison. The world's best swordsman. The world's best swordsman. A cheerful smile appeared on the corner of Zoro's mouth. The cheers around him and the smiles of his friends made him work hard to dispel the fatigue in his body. He took off the word, Wado, from his mouth and put the sword into its sheath. All 3 knives were sheathed. 2 knives were hung on Zoro's waist. His right hand clenched the word, Wado emoji, raised his arm high, and shouted suddenly. Captain, are you satisfied? Luo En raises his arms high, but he is the best swordsman in the world. Laozi is proud of you. Luo En is even more excited at this moment than when he won the title of the strongest in the world. Zoro finally became the #1 swordsman. The expectations of countless people, the prayers of countless people, and the youth of countless people. I have become the world's best swordsman. Kuina, did you see it? I have fulfilled the dream we agreed on. You are in heaven, have you heard the name of the world's #1 swordsman? Kuina. Zoro raised his right hand high and roared with a rich voice. At the end, his voice became choked, venting the emotions that had been accumulated in his heart for so many years. At this time, Zoro was only a 15-year-old boy. He covered his cheek with his left hand, and tears were already pouring down his face. Kuina, did you hear it? I became the best swordsman in the world. Did you hear my name in heaven? Kuina. Everyone looked at this scene and were speechless. What exactly is this guy carrying? Kai said with a lot of emotion. He was a little moved at this moment. Zoro is powerful and his strength is only one aspect. He also has a heart that never gives up and a stubbornness that refuses to admit defeat. This guy deserves everyone's respect. This is the real strong man. Mihawk actually lost. Ancient Saint Green's expression was indescribably ugly. My heart almost exploded with anger. Outside of gambling, you can't beat him. In the gambling game, you can't win. How the hell is this played? Especially the ones who fell were Garp and Hawkeye, which was a heavy blow to Wang Chi. In fact, Ancient Saint Green did not realize that world government and marine had no morale, and everyone was fighting passively. Because of Luo En's existence, no one knows what will happen next moment. Luo En appeared next to Zoro, patted Zoro on the shoulder, and said with a hearty smile, the name of the world's #1 swordsman will definitely ring through heaven. Captain. Zoro calmed down his emotions and gradually calmed down. Luo En personally helped Zoro back to the gambling table. Tesoro very sensibly transformed into a golden chair for Zoro to rest. The results have come out, it's time for you to pay your bet. Luo En slowly raised his head and looked directly at the members of the Knights of God holding 2 swords with sharp eyes. The latter was startled, drew his knife and came forward. He took the initiative to attack and sought a chance of survival. It is absolutely impossible for him to voluntarily hand over his life. He chose to take action head-on, which was the right choice. Because Ancient Sage Green is by his side, as long as he can create an opportunity, Ancient Sage Green will definitely take action immediately. Ancient Sage Green also thought the same, and just put his palm on the handle of the knife, preparing to draw the knife. A layer of fine, thick scarlet liquid suddenly splashed on his face. The guy who gambled his life with Luo En just now had his head exploded as soon as he took action. The brains splashed down like a shower along with the blood, staining the green ancient saint's body, and Kaido's body was also stained. For some reason, there is not even a drop of bloodline on Luo En. He calmly retracted his smooth fist, glanced at ancient Saint Green, and chuckled. What, do you want to solve it by other means other than gambling? The voice was not loud, but ancient Sage Green's hand when drawing the sword was trembling, and his back was dripping with cold sweat. He felt like he was being targeted by an ancient beast that would kill him if he made the slightest move. Ancient Saint Green swallowed nervously and slowly lowered his palm. Just kidding, fighting Luo En right now is absolutely crazy. How the hell did Luo En explode that man's head just now? Ancient Saint Green just saw a vague figure appear, and then the head exploded like a watermelon, so fast that he didn't even have time to react. How to do it? How does he do it? To take action is to seek death. Ancient Saint Green is now numb. When he first came, he still had strong confidence that he could solve rocks. But now, he doesn't even have the courage to tell the other party's true identity. The terrifying strength is not on the same level at all. Does the ant have the strength to fight back in front of the eagle? Ancient Saint Green's only hope now is that the 5 elders who are watching the battle should wake up as soon as possible. If they don't wake up something big will happen. All the Ancient Saint Green can do now is delay time and place his hope on others. He himself really has no confidence in playing against Luo En. How to fight if you can't even see clearly how the opponent is attacking? Also confused was Kaido, who stared blankly at the headless corpse with dull eyes. Attacked again. Or a flash kill. I didn't see the other party's movements clearly. Kaido people are stupid. What kind of opponent is Luo En? Is it necessary to tease them with such strength? Kaido is really going to collapse. He winked at Jin and Jack, signaling them to stop fighting and come back quickly. Jin understood something and grabbed Jack, as well as the 4 flying 6 cells who were beaten very embarrassed, and quietly retreated backwards, far behind Kaido, not daring to act rashly again. Holy Land. 4. Within the palace. Silence. Silence fell. Dead silence. 5 statues stood in the palace, as if they were about to stop breathing. When they saw Zoro defeating Hawkeye, the 5 elders were all stunned, each of them looking as if they had seen a ghost. They never imagined that Hawkeye would lose to the challenger. That's the world's best swordsman, what on earth is he doing? Just now, Luo En made a thunderous move, instantly killing the members of the Knights of God and shocking the ancient Saint Green to the point where he didn't even dare to breathe. This scene made the 5 elders collectively petrified. How to solve this situation now? Are the 5 of them going to die together? Or summon all the members of the Knights of God to die together? They were all confused. No one could have imagined that Luo En's strength would be terrifying beyond imagination, powerful beyond cognition, and pervert beyond ethical principles. Wake up, Lord I am. Saint Nasharang, Saint Satan, Saint Wachuli, Saint Pit, and Saint Moshe spoke at the same time and said firmly in unison. No matter what the consequences, they must wake up at all costs. Otherwise, the world will really change. The 5 elders got up, walked through the palace, and walked deep into Pangu City. Dressrosa. It seemed like the fighting should stop. Because there is no point in fighting. The existence of Luo En is the god who controls the life and death of all people. I think, you should be like Luffy and see a battle through to the end. Luo En touched his chin, looked around, and slowly suggested. After what Luo En said, everyone turned to look at Luffy who was fighting Kong. Luffy's 4th gear transformed into a snake man form, allowing him to move more flexibly and attack more rapidly. However, he still couldn't gain any benefit from Kong and was beaten in a bit of a mess. Kong, that is Garp and Sengoku's teacher, a pure physical master, who also masters the existence of Ba Tang. Now, the terrifying strength is probably second only to the ancient Saint Green. Luffy had a hard time fighting Kong. But it's not Luffy's character to admit defeat or escape. Luffy won't be so serious about fighting casually. The key is that the opponent is really stronger than him, which completely stimulates Luffy's fighting spirit. When everyone stopped fighting, Luffy was still fighting Kong fiercely, focusing on refusing to admit defeat. Lousy is the sun god and can lock blood. What are you? Luo En's eyes flickered. Sun god, 5th gear is close at hand. The guys in Kaido camp really don't want to continue fighting. Now only the world government and marine camps are left. Both Hancock and Jinbei retreated a distance to show their attitude. If the fighting continues, they will not get involved. Especially since Jinbei helped the fallen Hawkeye away from the central battlefield. Of course Doflamingo also wants to quit, but he is the leader of this time. Retreat. Take back the hair, take back the thread, take back the wool. Garp was disabled as soon as he came up, and there is nothing he can do now. He has to thank Robin for protecting his body. At this time, Garp is really going crazy. He couldn't understand why the enemy was so powerful. As for Sengoku and Aokiji, they cannot be recognized. Golden Lion will not let Sengoku go. Aokiji is bound to take action, and Ace does his part to stop Aokiji. They are destined to decide the outcome today, even life and death. Well, since you don't want to fight, there is nothing you can do. Lausha, Moria, deal with Doflamingo and find Adam the treasure tree. Luo En said slowly, looking away from Doflamingo and back to the gambling game in front of him. Crocodile, Moria, Luo, Sanji, Usopp, Robin, and Nami all attacked Doflamingo for a while. Even the cadres of the Don Quixote family could count on one of them. They will kill as many as they come. However, In the battle just now, several cadres of the Don Quixote family have died, and even Sugar was killed by Usopp's sniper. Doflamingo. Hand over Adam the treasure tree. Crocodile transformed into quicksand and rushed towards Doflamingo. Kaido. Baoshu Adam is handed over to Kaido. Doflamingo shouted with the attitude of dragging Kaido into the water. Luo En frowned and looked at Kaido. Don't listen to his nonsense. Laozi promised to cooperate with him, but Laozi has just arrived here, and he has never seen what Adam Baoshu looks like. Kaido immediately retorted fiercely, already thinking about the ancestors of the Don Quixote family. Now everyone knows. Kaido was found by Doflamingo, and it is obvious that Doflamingo intends to join forces with Kaido to plot against the world government and the Spade Pirates. Unexpectedly. However, Luo En defeated the entire team by himself. Little Lord. Virgo suddenly rushed out of Marine's camp and rushed towards Croc's sky. Seeing this scene, Sengoku's teeth were chattering and he yelled angrily, Virgo. You are actually Doflamingo's 0.8 undercover agent. Virgo's young master said too many problems. At this time, all Doflamingo's methods were exposed. The Don Quixote family was instantly isolated and helpless. As the battle continues, Diamante is captured alive by Shadow. Pika was kicked in the balls by Sanji and was in great pain. Torbol's protective clothing was shattered by Nami's lightning, revealing his skinny body, shivering in the lightning. Virgo was submerged in the dark gold sand, and Crocodile could end his life with just one thought. Doflamingo's eyes were crazy, and his strong emotional fluctuations caused the surrounding environment to change, and countless threads began to float. Doflamingo actually entered the fruit and awakened early. Let them go. Laozi is willing to hand over Baoshu Adam. Baoshu Adam is below the palace on King's Heights above. But that's only half. The other half is in the hands of the world government. The plan to sneak attack Elbaf was proposed by the world government. They took away half of the treasure tree Adam, and the dead giants were also done by the world government. It has nothing to do with Laozi. Doflamingo's chest rose and fell violently, revealing all the conspiracy behind him. Even though he is now in the state of fruit awakening, it is obviously impossible to defeat the guys around him. Doflamingo. Kong shouted angrily, trying to stop Doflamingo, which was completely diverting trouble to the east. Lao Lao Lao. Kong, are you worried now? Why didn't you think that you would have such a day when you used Laozi? Doflamingo laughed crazily, his crazy look and wildly dancing threads showing the hero's inner excitement. Doflamingo looked at the growing and transforming boy in front of him, suddenly put away the threads around him, and smiled crazily. Luo, you really want to kill Laozi to avenge Rocinante, right? Chapter 98. Whitebeard is confused. The truth is revealed. Rocinante, you really have a good apprentice. Doflamingo said with a deep smile. Clayson is the code name, Rocinante is the real name of Doflamingo's younger brother. Luo's eyes flashed, recalling the elegant but careless man in his memory. Apprentice. Maybe it's more about the relationship between an older brother and a younger brother. I've told you everything, let them go. Laozi is responsible for everything. Doflamingo roared ferociously, and the silk threads around him emerged, like flying silver snakes. Luo En withdrew his gaze from Doflamingo, looked at the gambling table, and said, I bet that none of Doflamingo and his people can escape. Which one of you is coming? Luo En said easily, his eyes falling on Ancient Sage Green and Kaido. The unexpected result was that neither of them responded, as if they didn't hear anything. Pretending to be deaf and dumb. Luo En found it a little funny. Ancient Saint Green has made up his mind and will not continue to gamble no matter what. Kaido is not a fool. In this situation, let alone Doflamingo, it would be difficult for him to escape. Doflamingo really touched the iron plate this time. Okay then let's fight to the death. Doflamingo looked crazy and said with a ferocious smile. Luo En's meaning is clear, he is not ready to let Doflamingo go. Crocodile's eyes turned cold, and the dark gold devouring sand instantly spurted out and attacked Doflamingo. Moria manipulated the shadow to take action quickly. Sanji and Law rushed out at the same time. These four people joined forces and Doflamingo cannot escape no matter what. Fighting broke out again. Luo En sat down again in boredom, crossed his legs, knocked on the golden table, and said coldly and sarcastically, standing next to the gambling table, you dare not join the gambling game. You don't even ask about the stakes. Are you going to just pretend to be deaf and dumb? It's very difficult for me to handle. Ancient Sage Green was dripping with cold sweat behind his back, and he forced himself to explain, Doflamingo is a foregone conclusion. His life and death can only depend on your thoughts. There is no point in gambling with this. Yes, this bet is unfair. Kaido added on the side, his tone not particularly strong. Betting on Game 05 is unfair from beginning to end. Luo En looked at the two people speechlessly, and when he was about to speak, he suddenly stopped and turned his head to look into the distance, where a group of people was approaching. The leader, the burly, iconic Whitebeard, shows his identity. 4 emperors, Whitebeard arrives. Now it's interesting, someone is here again. Luo En's eyes were full of interest. Whitebeard, just joined the gambling game, the 4-person game is interesting. Whitebeard, you are here, Sengoku said in shock, his expression full of surprise. He didn't expect Whitebeard to appear at all. Could it be that Rocks has summoned the previous crew members? Golden Lion, Kaido, and now Whitebeard are here too, are they all acting? Ha 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 ha, Whitebeard, you bastard, it's been so long. Golden Lion laughed, his tone somewhat gloating. Even if Whitebeard comes, he can't change today's situation. It depends on how the captain teaches him a lesson. Shiki thought secretly in his heart, feeling secretly happy that he could finally see Whitebeard deflated. Gyula Lala, Sengoku, long time no see. Shiki, why are you here? Sengoku and Golden Lion were playing against each other, and Whitebeard was obviously startled when he saw Shiki, looking very surprised. Laozi is now a member of the Spade Pirates. Why can't he be here? Golden Lion Hockey said with pride in his tone. You joined the Spade Pirates. Whitebeard was suddenly even more surprised. After decades of fighting, Shiki has never joined anyone else, and now he suddenly joins the Spade Pirates. This is not Shiki's character at all. Whitebeard was a little confused. Oh, hey, Whitebeard, you've missed so many things, come here. Kaido invited with gloating. Whitebeard looked around the battlefield and saw Sengoku and Golden Lion fighting, Ace and Aokiji fighting, and Kong and Luffy fighting. Even though his heart condensed, he really didn't expect that even Kong would personally take action. But when Whitebeard looked at the gambling table, his expression became even weirder. Ancient Saint Green. The guy who made the last move in the Valley of the Gods, the guy who killed Rocks. Today, he actually appeared here. Whitebeard was shocked, but was immediately occupied by deep doubts. But why are Kong, Sengoku, Aokiji fighting, Green Ancient Sage, Kaido, and that Luo En in front of the golden table? The person next to me seems to be the Golden Emperor. Also, why is Luo En sitting leisurely while Green Ancient Sage and Kaido are standing? What's going on with the two corpses behind Ancient Saint Green? What happened to the bloodline on Ancient Saint Green and Kaido? Whitebeard frowned, looking confused. He strode towards the gambling table and asked in a deep voice, Old Sage Green, I didn't expect you to show up. Kaido, long time no see, what happened here? Are you Luo En? The appearance of Whitebeard exceeded everyone's expectations. Ancient Sage Green didn't think of it, Sengoku and Garp didn't think of it, and even Kaido didn't think of it. As for Luo En, whether Whitebeard appears or not has no impact, it's just a matter of chips. I think at the beginning, Luo En still hoped to be able to compete with Whitebeard's strength. However, later on, as he became stronger and stronger, he no longer had particularly strong thoughts about Whitebeard. Hey, Whitebeard, didn't you see me? Suddenly, a green figure walked in front of Whitebeard from the side and shouted. Whitebeard's eyes shook, and he said regretfully, Garp, what a pity, you are already dead. Who killed you? Whitebeard looked at the situation in front of him and guessed that Luo En had killed Garp. He had noticed something was wrong with the atmosphere. Luo En was completely in control, his expression and posture were extremely relaxed. On the other hand, Ancient Sage Green and Kaido were very nervous, as if they were afraid of something. After noticing this, Whitebeard's contempt for Luo En completely dissipated. He just has his own pride and is not a fool. There is definitely something wrong with the Green Ancient Sage and Kaido being able to treat him like this. Bastard Whitebeard, stop cursing me here. You old guy is dead. I'm alive and well, it's just that my soul is out of body, and I can go back in a while. Garp bared his teeth and claws, and punched Whitebeard twice. Even if you can't hit him, you still have to vent your anger. Not dead. Soul out of body. This time it was Whitebeard's turn to be confused. He had never encountered such a strange thing before. Stop pretending to me here, Whitebeard, I guess you already know Luo En's identity, right? Garp's face darkened, looking like he was broken. He wants to reveal Luo En's identity. Luo En is Rocks. Kaido appeared, and now Whitebeard appeared again. He said it was not premeditated, but Yinpu didn't believe it. Listening to the tone of Garp's words, the corners of Ancient Sage Green's mouth twitched, and he had a bad feeling in his heart. What's Luo En's identity? Whitebeard said with a raised eyebrow. He really doesn't know. There was a smile on the corner of Luo En's mouth, and he waited for the next topic with interest, without interrupting Garp. Stop pretending. It's a coincidence that Kaido appears here. How can it be a coincidence that you appear here? Don't act like it. You, Golden Lion, and Kaido appearing at the same time have already explained a lot of problems. I'm afraid that Charlotte Linlin will also appear in a while. Right. Garp looked confident as he commented on Whitebeard. Garp, what do you mean? Whitebeard's voice was low, his eyes narrowed, and his aura was bursting out. Garp roared angrily. What do you mean? Whitebeard, you are pretending to be interesting. You don't understand what I'm saying. Do you want me to explain it more clearly? Luo En is Rocks. He's your captain, Rocks. In the wind, the word, Rocks, echoed heavily. The three words, Rocks, hit everyone's hearts hard. Most people are confused because they don't know the existence of Rocks at all, but for those who know the existence of Rocks, it is undoubtedly a slap in the face. Have you revealed the truth? Rocks, you can't hide it anymore. Kong murmured, with a fierce light shining in his eyes. Luffy pulled out the sunken souls from the ground and muttered in confusion, what happened to Grandpa? Why do you always mistake Luo En? The old man made a big mistake this time. Ace shook his head and smiled helplessly. Of course everyone in the Spade Pirates knows that Luo En is Luo En and cannot be from Rocks. It's just that Kong and Sengoku still insist on their flawlessly accurate guesses. Stupid guys, how can there be two identical people in the world? He is not rocks. Golden Lion shook his head slightly and sneered. He can naturally feel the difference between Luo En and rocks, they are completely two different people. Golden Lion, no matter how much you quibble, it won't change the facts. Sengoku shouted coldly, thinking that Golden Lion was still quibbling. You're making excuses for your grandma's legs. The Golden Lion looked at Sengoku fiercely and launched a crazy attack. He must teach Sengoku a lesson today. Rocks. Kaido jumped up suddenly as if his tail had been stepped on, and took 2 big steps back. He stared at the smiling Luo En in horror, his heart in his throat. If Luo En were rocks, that would be so bad. Rock's cruel character will not let traitors like them go. With the strength Luo En is showing now, doesn't it mean that he has no choice but to wait for death? Kaido was confused. He was having a good time, so why did he flip the table? Whitebeard's eyes widened and he shouted in disbelief. Garp. You said he is rocks. Nonsense. Total nonsense. Rocks is obviously dead, how could he still be alive? Especially becoming so young, it is absolutely impossible. You don't know. This time it was Garp's turn to be confused. Looking at Whitebeard and Kaido's surprised and shocked expressions, it doesn't look like they were acting at all, right? Did you misunderstand them? Garp, what's going on? How do you know that Luo En is from rocks? Whitebeard's muscles tensed up, as if facing a powerful enemy, and cold sweat oozed from his forehead. He looked more serious than ever before. That's right. Could you please tell me why I am rocks? I don't even know, Luo En said with a smile on the side, looking like a follower of others. This is something Luo En still hasn't figured out yet. Why does the world government define him as rocks? He and rocks are completely two different people, right? As a result, the world government made such ridiculous remarks. What's even more rare is that the world government and Marine firmly believe in this. I really can't handle Luo En. Just take advantage of this opportunity to understand the truth inside. Rocks, stop pretending, your identity has been exposed a long time ago. Ancient Saint Green said with a gloomy face. Luo En's look made him feel humiliated. Kaido swallowed nervously, even the Ancient Saint Green said this, Tien Yubijiu is true. Whitebeard's throat was dry and he opened his mouth but no words came out. Rocks is still alive, Luo En is rocks. At this moment, Whitebeard felt that his world had collapsed. Even if I am rocks, you have to let me know how I exposed my identity, right? Luo En would rather admit his identity as rocks, but also wants to know how world government is. How to operate. Rocks, I will tell you what you did to expose your identity. Garp saw the look from the Ancient Saint Green, and took a step forward, and began to tell his guess Luo En. The idea of identity, and then the 5 elders meeting, finally confirmed Luo En's identity as rocks from various clues. The reason why Ancient Saint Green asked Garp to tell the story was simply to delay time. He believed that the 5 elders who had watched this scene would not sit still and wait for death. They would definitely take action and might even have started to wake up the sleeping IM. Therefore, we must delay the time. It took Garp a long time to finish describing the process of determining Luo En's identity, and also describe the Universal Training Warehouse, Luo En's abilities, etc. in detail. Luo En's forehead is full of black lines, and he has an idea of using swear words. Isn't this nonsense? Green 007 Ancient Sage, 5 Elders, Kong, Sengoku, and Garp are all confused, right? I made up so many things in my head, it's so funny. Stupid. Brainless. 2 strokes. No more words. The ability to accelerate cultivation. Absorb lifespan and ability. Kaido's eyes shook violently, and he subconsciously took a step back, his body shaking a little. If you go by what Garp said, everything will match up with rocks. Dark fruit awakens and is able to swallow everything, including lifespan and fruit abilities, making Luo En so powerful. This is the power he gained by devouring the lifespans of countless people. This kind of ruthlessness is completely in line with Rock's character. Whitebeard's head was buzzing, and he was completely confused by Garp's words. It's reasonable and well-founded, and every explanation is just right. But Whitebeard is wondering, how did rocks survive? Luo En is so powerful, but very weird. The machine that can speed up cultivation is even weirder. But if you say Luo En is rocks, Whitebeard can't believe it. I really can't believe it. If rocks makes a comeback, it will be a catastrophe in the sea, and the world will be completely destroyed. Ha 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 ha. I'm laughing so hard. I can't stand it anymore. What kind of plot is this? Ha 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 ha. Yo. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Everyone in the Spade Pirates suddenly burst into laughter, as if they had heard a very funny joke, and none of them could hold it back at all. How is this possible? Cough cough cough. Zoro felt speechless for a while. Old man, you guessed wrong. If we use it for such a long time, we won't be able to feel it if it consumes its lifespan. That thing is really an extremely magical machine. It has such extraordinary power. Power. I believe that even the rocks you are talking about cannot be created. Ace said loudly, and a huge stone fell to the ground in his heart. He finally figured out the reason for Garp's change in mood. He had been doing this for a long time, so he could rest assured. That's right, Grandpa, we are working hard to become stronger, Luo En will not harm us. Luffy also shouted, helping Luo En explain. Ace, Luffy's grandfather, what you said is really funny. It's completely impossible for the fruit to awaken the ability. Our captain is a person who copies the fruit ability. What I told you. Totally different. Brook floated beside Garp and explained helplessly. Zoro shook his head, the idea of resurrection from the dead doesn't make sense. Tang Ran also thought of consuming his lifespan to squeeze his potential. It's an idea that only a person with a big brain can come up with. The members of the Spade Pirates were speechless at this statement. Garp's face was dull, and his heart was filled with turmoil. Could it be that the idea he had been insisting on was wrong? Ancient Sage Green's face turned pale and red. He felt like Zoro was scolding him. At first, it was Green's ancient holy power that overcame everyone's opinions and blamed all the clues on rocks. Now he is telling him that everything is wrong. Ancient Sage Green could not wait to find a crack in the ground and burrow into it. Chapter 99 Throne of the Void. I am awake. Please customize. When Garp told all the truth, the members of the Spade Pirates were not shocked, but instead laughed. As people who have truly experienced it, they can certainly know that the changes brought to them by the Universal Cultivation Chamber are not at all a sinister way of consuming their lifespan. Even when they become stronger, they still grow at a normal rate and have no impact on their lifespan at all. The most terrifying thing is Luffy, who has been given life and is not afraid of the fruit's lifespan. If it were true, everyone would think about it when Garp said it, but it really doesn't match up. What's more, the Universal Training Warehouse can also give rewards and evolve Devil Fruit and other powers. How can this be the way Garp said? When neither of them agreed, both Green Ancient Sage and Garp realized that they were wrong. It was wrong from the beginning. Garp's eyes widened and he was completely speechless. I have been nervous and worried for so long. Do you deserve it? Garp, it's all your fault. The Ancient Saint Green looked at Garp fiercely, almost breaking his guard. If Garp hadn't solemnly guessed this, how could he think that Luo En was rocks? How could the action against Luo En be launched? It's simply an arrogant courting death. Your grandson is the vice captain of the Spade Pirates, but you can go back with your life. Ancient Saint Green is extremely speechless now. The reason for the current situation turned out to be because of the wrong information at the beginning. He really hates it in his heart. I was wrong. I was wrong. Garp staggered 2 steps, but suddenly felt relaxed. As long as it's wrong, at least Ace and Luffy are safe. Damn it, Sengoku. Are you going to trouble Lousy just because you don't know whether it's true or false? Damn you. The Golden Lion was so angry that he took a long puff of cigar, and the buoyancy around him exploded, covering a layer of ground and floating, all of which hit Sengoku. How can he not be angry? Sengoku, Garp, and Kizaru teamed up to arrest him, but it turned out to be wrong information. Sengoku's expression gradually became ugly. The Golden Lion put tremendous pressure on him on the one hand, but more importantly, it was because he learned that Marine and world government had been wrong all along, which was a huge blow to Sengoku. After a long time, it was all a misunderstanding. Even if it is a misunderstanding, the situation at this time is irreversible. Therefore, Sengoku can only keep fighting and try his best to kill the Golden Lion. Damn, what is world government doing? It's deceiving Lousy with false information. You can think of it even if Rox is resurrected. It really makes Lousy wonder how you became the top leaders of world government. Kaido cursed fiercely and showed no mercy. Ancient Sage Green's face turned red, white, and blue, becoming increasingly ugly. Whitebeard breathed a sigh of relief visibly, and his tense body gradually relaxed, but he still maintained due caution against Luo En. If such important information is wrong, the consequences are really serious. Luo En, Lousy wants to compete with you. Field. The cloud cutter in Whitebeard's hand hit the ground hard, making a crisp sound, and at the same time he challenged Luo En. Ancient Saint Green's eyes lit up. If Whitebeard takes action against Luo En, there might be another chance. Kaido's eyes fell on Whitebeard and shook his head slightly. In his opinion, Whitebeard was no match for Luo En. Dad, your body. Marco, Beasta and the others persuaded Whitebeard behind him, not wanting Whitebeard to take action. Whitebeard waved his hand to stop them, and said, Children, Lousy fights, but he has never been afraid. Lousy's body is clear to him. Luo En, let's have a battle and let Lousy see your strength. Luo En sat on the golden chair and said casually, I'm sorry, if you want to challenge me with force, I'm afraid you won't have the chance, because they don't just stand around and watch the scenery. Luo En pointed at Crocodile, Moria and others. Doflamingo has been solved. Frankie, Chopper, and 20 giants went to the King's Heights to look for Adam, the treasure tree. Luo En is right. If Whitebeard wants to take action, Crocodile and the others will not agree. The entire Spade Pirates will not agree, and neither will the human race. Whitebeard frowned, his eyes sharp. But then Luo En said, Why don't you come to the gambling game and play a few games, maybe your life will be lost. Understatement and yours is gone. It's like Whitebeard's fate is very ordinary. A gambling game. Whitebeard took a step forward, curious about how Luo En and the Green Ancient Sage could play games. Kaido gloated and described to Whitebeard what had just happened, as well as the cause of death of the 2 members of the Knights of God behind Holy Green. Whitebeard was stunned. The members of the Knights of God were easily killed by Luo En. What exactly is Luo En's strength? Thinking of this, Whitebeard's gaze at Luo En became extremely solemn again, and his brows furrowed into an unbreakable knot. Even if you join the gang, let's take a bet. I bet Golden Lion can defeat Sengoku. Bet. What do you want to bet on? Luo En looked at the three people in front of him with a smile. Grim old ones, Kaido, Whitebeard. Kaido subconsciously took a step back, as if he didn't want to participate at all. The ancient sage Green looked at his nose with his eyes, and his nose looked at his heart, without saying a word. Whitebeard looked at the weird looks of the other two people and whispered, Lousy has just arrived, let's get familiar with the gambling game first. Another one declined. If this is the case, it will be boring. Luo En spread his hands and turned to the Golden Lion and shouted, Lao Jin, kill Sengoku Lousy and form a team of your own for you. I guarantee you will use the training warehouse enough. You don't have to place bets, but if I can win, I have to win. Captain, don't worry, Sengoku is running today. The Golden Lion roared with a ferocious smile, arcs of electricity swirled around his body, and the Conqueror's cooking energy exploded unreservedly. The next blow determines the outcome, life and death. One extra round, Ace defeated Aokiji. What do you say? Luo En said to Green Ancient Sage, Whitebeard, and Kaido again. As a result, the three of them fell silent. Whitebeard blends into the atmosphere very quickly and is very adaptable. Luo En narrowed his eyes, chuckled and said, the second time. Tezzolo, tell them the rules. Luo En gave a faint instruction, then looked at the battle between Ace and Aokiji, and shouted, Ace, just use your ultimate move, Momokai will fight until next year. If you can't deal with him, the position of deputy captain may be just change someone. Luo En, stop making such sarcastic remarks, Lousy's vice captain is untouchable. Ace retorted fiercely, and then burst into red flames, and the diffuse fire almost covered the island behind him in an instant. Although he said he was unwilling, Ace's actions completely exploded. Here, Tezzolo has already explained to Ancient Saint Green, Whitebeard, and Kaido, the rules of the Golden Table gambling game are to repeat it again and again and not again. You can only press your hand twice. If you still press your hand the third time, you can flip it. If the table is overturned, then naturally there will be no rules for gambling. There are no rules for gambling, which means that the gambling is gone. Now that the bet is over, do you think Luo En is still interested in playing with you? This was what Tezzoro didn't say clearly, but Ancient Sage Green, Whitebeard, and Kaido all understood it instantly, and their hearts couldn't help but feel a little heavy. Whitebeard was confused. He looked at the timid appearance of Ancient Saint Green and Kaido, and in his heart, Alexander did not dare to act rashly. He wanted to fight, but he did not want to die. What's more, he has the Whitebeard pirates behind him. That's why Whitebeard is so hesitant. Then, it depends on what conditions Luo En will propose after the next two battles. In fact, the Green Ancient Sage and Kaido borrowed the light of Whitebeard. Because the two of them had fought each other once before. It's just that Luo En is too lazy to calculate everything, and starts all calculations again after Whitebeard joins. The battle in the field suddenly became fierce. Golden Lion vs Sengoku. Ace vs Aokiji. The Golden Lion's mane is flying wildly in the air. He is no longer using his buoyancy to control the rocks and other things around him. Instead, it is slowly condensing on the Muku and Sakura 10 on his feet. The power of lion fruit was adapted by Golden Lion into the form of a force field condensed on the feet, forming a sharp slash, just like compressing endless air, changing a very peculiar state. Fujitora can use gravity to support his slashing, while Golden Lion can use buoyancy to support his slashing. However, the state of buoyancy is not upward, but based on his feet. The direction of the buoyancy is always the direction of his attack. This is the power of lion fruit after evolution, the power of all things to float into the air. At the same time, Conqueror's Haki was wrapped around Mukuro and Sakuraju, flashing with dark red thunder, erupting with unshakable ferocious power. Behind the Golden Lion, a huge Golden Lion with bright rays of light condensed, with a majestic mane. Sky hyphenation point Pagoda Lion. The Golden Lion shouted loudly, and with the roar of the Golden Lion behind him, he rushed towards Sengoku. Sengoku's expression was solemn, his whole body shone with golden light, and the Buddha's body was brought into play to the ultimate, and then room after room of arcs began to flash on the surface of his body. Conqueror's Haki, entangled. With the entanglement of Conqueror's Haki, the dazzling golden form of the Sengoku Buddha suddenly became brighter. Lightning floated, but was shaken by the powerful momentum released from the body. Under the Sengoku Buddha's feet, the ground collapsed several meters high, along with the surrounding area. Forming a huge deep pit. Big Buddha. With Sengoku's voice, all the surrounding air suddenly rushed towards his raised palm. The endless air gathered to form an unparalleled super shock wave. Sengoku's palm slowly transformed into a bright golden lotus. The lotus flower within it is the shock wave where Sengoku condenses all his power. The golden lotus gathers the power of domination. Golden lotus destructive impact. As the words fell, the figure of the Buddha rose into the sky. The golden lotus in his hand collided with the golden lion transformed into Golden Lion. The Golden Lion has a huge mouth, revealing its ferocious fangs, which he bites down in one bite. The two sharpest fangs are the Golden Lion's feet, wooden pillars, and floor plates. These two guys are working hard. Whitebeard stared and murmured subconsciously. Is that guy from Golden Lion still so strong? Kaido frowned and asked in deep fear. Ancient Saint Green said nothing, but kept praying for Sengoku's victory in his heart. Although it can't change anything, Sengoku's victory can at least give the ancient Saint Green some comfort. Garp stared blankly at the fierce collisions in the sky, with mixed feelings in his heart, and the bad premonition became stronger and stronger. He realized the changes in Golden Lion. He was obviously seriously injured after the last battle. Kizaru's injury was lighter than that of Golden Lion and he didn't fully recover, but Golden Lion was completely healed. Among them, I am afraid that it is inseparable from the magical universal cultivation warehouse. If Golden Lion had the changes brought about by the universal training warehouse, I'm afraid Sengoku really wouldn't be a match. Garp heart. Zongmo analyzed it silently. He swore that he would never say anything about his guesses in the future. This time we made such a big mistake, it is fatal to Marine and the world government. Luo En looked at the scene in the sky and marveled. For Buddhist Vajra. Fearless lion. It really looks like. I just don't know if the Buddhist Vajra can subdue this fearless lion. Quote. The fearless lion is one of the protectors of Buddhism. And Sengoku is in the form of a giant Buddha. Everything seems very clever. Boom. A storm swept across the sky. Dressrosa, which was already destroyed, once again experienced the baptism of the storm. The golden lotus in Sengoku's palm suddenly erupted, and a destructive shock wave was shot out, destroying everything in front of him. The slashes condensed by Golden Lion Sakura 10 and Muku also took advantage of the momentum to explode, and the floating power poured out. It was a blow that condensed all the power of Devil Fruit that Golden Lion could gather. It's not as simple as it seems. That was enough power to change the force field. When it exploded violently, it was not weaker than Sengoku's destructive shock wave. Moreover, both of their attacks have the same purpose. Golden Lion, this era no longer belongs to you. I arrested you once before, but you broke your legs and ran away from Impel Down. This time, I will still kill you with my own hands. Defeat you and arrest you. Sengoku gritted his teeth, maintaining the burst of power and fighting against the Golden Lion. Ha ha ha, Sengoku, you are too fanciful. Arrest Lousy. Stop dreaming. But there is one sentence you said that is true to the times and does not belong to Lousy, let alone Marine and world government. Because of this era. Belong. Quote exclamation mark quote. Golden Lion laughed without any scruples, and the power under his feet suddenly exploded. The shadow of the huge Golden Lion behind him flickered for a moment, and suddenly turned into light and shadow and shrank to the Golden Lion's feet. The originally sharp slash became even more fierce. Fearless Lion. Only fearlessness. The Golden Lion broke the cauldron and used all its blows to truly explode. The Golden Lotus in Sengoku's hand actually cracked. Under Sengoku's horrified gaze, it shattered inch by inch, and terrifying shock waves spread out uncontrollably. The two famous knives at Golden Lion's feet cut down fiercely with endless edge. Light streaked across the sky. The next second, the figure of the Golden Lion appeared behind the giant Buddha Sengoku. As for Sengoku's giant Buddha figure, under everyone's shocked and disbelieving eyes, its body began to slowly collapse. Sengoku's golden Buddha statue was beaten to pieces by the Golden Lion, Li Hao. This also means that Sengoku has completely failed. Martial Marine, Sengoku, defeated. The golden light shattered, and the golden light on Sengoku went out, and he fell heavily from the sky. In a trance, he seemed to see naval headquarters and his high-spirited self. Failed. With a murmur that was lost in the wind, Sengoku crashed into the ground. Ha ha ha, Lousy wins. Ahem. He wins. In the sky, the Golden Lion looked up to the sky and laughed excitedly, and the laughter was filled with endless joy and hatred. Last time, Sengoku and the others teamed up to beat him up and fled in embarrassment. However, after meeting Luo En, the fruit's ability evolved and Sengoku was completely defeated. In fact, Golden Lion knew in his heart that if he had the same strength as before, he and Sengoku would probably die together. Only by joining Luo En, after that evolution, his strength would be as high as. This is the key to his victory. It was he who shouted out the meaning of the phrase, this era is Luo En. This is the era that completely belongs to Luo En. Luo En's brilliance even surpassed Rox and Roger. Good. What a fearless lion. Well done. Luo En smiled and clapped, giving Golden Lion the greatest recognition. This guy was promoting himself when he finally broke out, absolutely. Pay attention to people, Shiki. At the same time. Holy Land, Mariajoy. Among the flowers in the deepest part of Pangu City. 5 elders walked side by side and stopped here. In front of them was a shimmering throne, like a throne in the void. Throne of the Void, symbolizing the highest power, even the celestial dragons are not qualified to sit on the empty throne. The only person who can sit on the throne of the void is the creator of the world in the words of the 5 elders. I am. Lord I am. There has been a major change in the sea, we need your instructions. Saint Nasharang, Saint Peter, Moshe Saint, Street, Wachuli. Satan's Holy Fire. Welcome to the awakening of the creator of the world. Chapter 100 Whitebeard and Kaido surrender. Ace defeated Aokiji, asking for flowers and evaluation votes. Mariajoy, Pangu City, I am is being awakened by the 5 elders. Meanwhile, Elbaf. The war swept through the entire Elbaf, turning it into a burning place. 4 Emperors Shanks, 4 Emperors Mother launched an attack on Elbaf. At the same time, including Seraph Shichibukai Hawkeye, Empress Hancock, and the world government's troops, they used chemical poison gas to reduce the giants' combat effectiveness and massacred them. When Shanks and Big Mom met, the two actually did not choose to fight, but joined forces to deal with the giants. Sure enough, in the face of interests, interests are the most important. The old king of the giants was killed by Shanks himself. Prince Loki was protected by giants and escaped from Dr. Elba. In this battle, the giants suffered heavy losses, and the treasure tree atom was destroyed. The main trunk of Baoshu atom was divided between Shanks and Big Mom. It's just that Luo En and the giant soldier pirates don't know this happened yet. At this time, Dressrosa, the battle is still going on. Different from Golden Lion's joy and Luo En's joy, the guys around them had mixed feelings in their hearts. There was a trace of shock in Whitebeard's eyes. The fact that the Golden Lion could have such strength completely exceeded his expectations. When did Golden Lion Shiki become so powerful? Even in the heyday of the Golden Lion, Whitebeard didn't find it so scary, but why did it become more powerful after breaking his leg? Ancient Saint Green's face looked ugly, as if he had eaten shong, and his mouth was full of bitterness. What a nonsense. After Garp and Hawkeye, Marine Marshal Sengoku was killed again. Today's action can be described as a complete failure. It is simply a shame in the history of world government. However, when Ancient Saint Green was about to explode, he saw Luo En's smiling face and immediately lost his temper. He just kept urging in his heart, praying that the five elders could act faster. Otherwise, he really wouldn't be able to hold on for long. He has already pressed his hand twice. As long as Luo En starts gambling again, he will be in danger. Ancient Saint Green is a little panicked now. Kaido looked at the high-spirited Golden Lion in shock and frowned. Why do you feel that he has changed his amplitude again? Garp lowered his head in pain, unable to bear to look directly at the horror of the battlefield. Sengoku's defeat to Golden Lion was undoubtedly a heavy blow. Sengoku. When Kong saw this scene, his teeth were about to crack, and his fists were knocked down hard. Even though Luffy used the tyrannical Ape King spear, he was still defeated and was knocked away. Just as Kong was about to leave, an outstretched arm from behind hit him on the back again. Stop. The battle is not over yet. Luffy stood up from the ground 937 again, very stubbornly. Kong was already irritated, with strong and clear murderous intent flowing in his eyes. He gritted his teeth and said, okay. I'm going to spare your life for Garp's sake, but if you insist on seeking death, I will fulfill you. Come on. I won't lose. I am Monkey D. Luffy, the man who wants to become the Pirate King. Luffy roared and rushed out again. Pirate King. I will send you to see the Pirate King today. Kong's aura exploded, and his figure shot out like a cannonball, knocking Luffy away with one punch. As the battle between Kong and Luffy continues, the battle between Ace and Aokiji is coming to an end. Fire and ice, this time the winner will be decided. Beside Ace, endless exploding red flames were burning, turning crazily, and wisps of them lingered in Ace's palm. The golden flames burned indistinctly, forming a huge golden fireball, releasing scorching heat, making the ground become scorched. Ace held the fireball with one hand, his eyes resolute. Aokiji, use the strongest ice. Let me see whether the ice is stronger or my fire. The fireball in Ace's hand was like a small golden sun, releasing unparalleled light and falling on the battlefield. The terrifying high temperature made people subconsciously not want to get close. At this time, Ace was like the god of fire holding the sun high, with traces of strange momentum beginning to blend into the flames. Conqueror's Haki, entangled. Ace's strongest attack has been condensed. Above the fireball, there are still dancing flames. At a glance, it seems that the fireball is wearing a crown, dominating the world. Opposite Ace, the frost on Aokiji's cheeks had covered half of his cheeks, and his expression could not be seen at all, and he was breathing coldly. He raised his palms high, and the cold air was raging around him, like an invisible ice storm. The ground under his feet even changed the geological climate and became an area of ice. After the ice spread, it suddenly gathered on Aokiji's head, wrapping around his arms to form a circular polar ice storm. The cold air condensed the ice, and the ice continued to solidify, becoming like a transparent ice ball, but releasing an even more terrifying cold air freezes everything. Try it. The ice age, the extreme ice is permanently frozen. Aokiji gently raised the soles of his feet, broke away from the ice beneath his feet, and rushed out as if gliding. At the same time, Aokiji's Conqueror's Haki burst out and wrapped around his own puck. In the cold air around him, a rushing and whistling crimson arc flashed for an instant, full of oppression. The heat wave in front of Ace was suddenly hit a FOD, and all of it surged back. But he didn't realize it. He didn't even blink. He stared at Aokiji's condensed ice, with a strong fighting spirit bursting out of his eyes. The color of the firelight was reflected in his eyes, showing a golden luster. Bring it on. Explosive flame ring fire king. Ace's low but fighting voice sounded, and then he rushed out. The ice and flames were getting closer and closer in front of everyone's astonished eyes. The temperature on both sides had even caused changes in the air, causing mist to rise. Ice or fire, who is stronger? Whitebeard squinted his eyes and murmured in a low voice. Aokiji shouldn't lose, that guy is hiding his secrets. Kaido said from the side, he was optimistic about Aokiji. Besides, could the flames really be that strong? Kaido thinks it's impossible. Ancient Saint Green had a cold face and prayed in his heart, never lose again. Kuzan. Defeat him. Such terrifying fire and ice. Luffy was surprised by Logia's power. The air conditioning and heat waves came alternately, sometimes cold and sometimes hot. Luffy didn't like it very much. Across from him, Kong had a sullen face, watching the final duel between Ace and Aokiji. Ace, Kuzan. Garp held his head, his body shimmering with green luster, and his expression was indescribably tangled. He was unable to change anything at all, he was just a wandering soul. If they can still fight, Garp must be on the side of the world government. But now, he can't fight. When Brook ran out of power, I'm afraid everyone present was killed by Luo En 3,000 times. After Garp's soul returned, he could only collect their corpses. For Garp, in the duel between Ace and Aokiji, he has no way to hope who will win. He hopes that both parties can be safe. One is his beloved disciple and the other is his beloved grandson. How to choose? But unlike Garp's entanglement, the Spade Pirates are all cheering for Ace. Ace, you are the vice captain, don't lose. Zoro waved and shouted. Ace, come on. Usopp and Nami shouted in unison. Come on, Ace, must win. Spade is invincible. Long live the captain. At the end, all the outrageous slogans were shouted out, and Luo En couldn't help but blush. What the hell is long live the captain? Luo En's eyes are full of confidence, strong confidence in Ace. Ace will definitely win. Exploding flame ring fire king. The god of fire rules the world. Boom. Under the gaze of everyone, the fireball and ice ball penetrated numerous obstacles and collided suddenly. At the moment of contact, the flames and ice seemed to have found a vent, pouring out like a torrent from a dam. Ultra-low ice and high-temperature flames collide fiercely, as if they are merging, forming a terrifying and unspeakable scene. Just the confrontation between ice and fire is jaw-dropping to watch. The ground beneath their feet was gradually dissipated under the dual influence of ice and flames. In the blink of an eye, a huge abyss-like ravine formed. Ace's fireball and Aokiji's ice ball both melted half of each other, showing an evenly matched stance. Seeing this scene, Ace grinned. It's over. As soon as the words fell, the Flame King exploded, and the endless flame impact, like a condensed shock wave, returned to the Chinese medicine practitioner. Aokiji's expression suddenly changed, causing ice to blast out. It's not just the collision of ice and fire, but also the entanglement of Conqueror's haki. Red lightning visible to the naked eye surrounded the two people, as if adding a bit of beautiful color to the song of ice and fire. When the flames and ice broke out freely, Ace's flames gained the upper hand, gradually encroaching on the ice's territory, and Aokiji's attacks were gradually melted away. Just because Ace's flames evolved into explosive red flames. The power of explosion comes from the power of dragon spell. The power of the explosion, carrying the temperature of the flame which is not weaker than the magma, and the ferocious momentum of the flame, completely suppressed Aokiji's attack. Why is your flame so strong? Aokiji gritted his teeth and said unwillingly. He really didn't want to lose. But the power he can explode now is already his limit. My flame is the king of all destruction. Ace said softly, and then his fist crashed down, and the burst of flames swallowed up the last ice. Aokiji's figure was swept away and fell to the ground from a high altitude. Aokiji lost. Admiral Aokiji also lost. The crowd watching the battle was silent, only the Spade Pirates cheered. The giants of the giant race were dumbfounded. Ace actually defeated Marine Admiral Aokiji. I don't think Ace is so scary when we get along with him on weekdays, right? Especially the giant Marine Vice Admiral, they know better how terrible Aokiji is, but they still failed in the battle between ice and fire. How can this be? Golden Lion defeated Sengoku. Golden Lion was a legendary pirate after all, so they were not so surprised. But now Ace is so brave, which really impresses the giants. Kuzan. Garp murmured, looking a little lonely. Looking at the place where Sengoku and Aokiji fell, his heart was filled with sadness. Today is destined to be Marine's Waterloo. Marine Hero, Marine Marshal, and Marine Admiral failed one after another. Even if Akainu and Kizaru are here, I'm afraid it won't change anything. Ace's strength is undoubtedly stronger than Admiral's. How could he defeat Aokiji? This is absolutely impossible. Ancient Saint Green's expression suddenly changed, and the hope he had just had in his heart was instantly shattered. Failed again. He cursed bitterly in his heart. But he couldn't figure out why. Ace can be so strong. Even Aokiji was defeated. Unless he saw it with his own eyes, he would never believe it. A scary guy, even he is qualified to be Laozi's opponent. Whitebeard stared at Ace with serious eyes and whispered to himself. The strength shown by Ace even made Whitebeard feel threatened. What kind of flame is that? This kid's ability is too weird. Kaido looked surprised and couldn't accept the result. What is going on with the Spade Pirates? Is it okay if one or two of them are monsters? Are all members monsters? This made Kaido very depressed and confused, and at the same time shocked by Ace's power. Facing those doubts, Luo En smiled and said nothing. Of course, he knew the power of Ace best. During the Sabayati archipelago, Ace was already able to tie with Akainu. Later, I flew over the Red Line, entered the New World, and arrived at Elbaf for 7 days. After staying for 2 days, I set off for Dressrosa with the giants, including the day of departure and it took a total of 10 days to arrive on this day. So, after the Sabayati archipelago, it was a total of 25 days. But for the Spade Pirates, who have a universal training warehouse, it is equivalent to a year. Moreover, day and night alternate, and you get twice the result with half the effort. Aces becoming stronger does not happen overnight, but is the result of a sudden accumulation of time. After reaching admiral strength, it is very difficult to improve. But with the help of the Universal Training Chamber, Ace has made further progress. Not only has he made breakthroughs in physical skills, Conqueror's Haki has become even more powerful. In addition to the evolved explosive red flames and flames, which are not on the same level at all, Luo En feels that it is not a big problem for Ace to defeat Aokiji. With Ace's current strength, which is at least monster level, he can compete with powerful and talented people like Whitebeard and Kaido. And this is why Luo En is so determined that Luffy can drive in 5th gear. Luffy's practice has been stuck in the 4th gear for more than a year. All it takes is an opportunity to evolve to the 5th gear. Don't be too busy being surprised now, there is still one last battle, Laozi will play the last game. Luo En withdrew his gaze, looked at Ancient Sage Green, Whitebeard, and Kaido, and said calmly. In the last round, we bet on whether Feng Jiyu and Luffy win or lose. You guys come first. But make sure you agree in advance that if anyone tries to hold you back, then stop playing. In the last sentence, the 3 people present heard Luo En's faint threat, and couldn't help but feel nervous. Everyone beside Tezzolo was numb. This is definitely the most exciting gambling game he has ever hosted. Even the 4 emperors are betting that if they lose their lives, they will lose their lives. How many lives can ordinary people afford to play? Now that Tezzoro has witnessed the power of the Spade Pirates with his own eyes, he no longer regrets his previous decision and already has the desire to join. I choose Kong. I bet that Kong will win. Luo En, if Kong wins, you let us go. Ancient Sage Green said through gritted teeth. He doesn't believe Kong will lose. I don't even believe that world government will lose. Especially now that Kong has fully unleashed his power and beat Luffy very miserably, but Luffy never fell down. He staggered to his feet and was able to fight, just like immune to death. Xiaoqiang is average, but even so, Ancient Sage Green still firmly believes that Kong will win. Okay, if Kong wins, world government and marine can leave. But if Kong loses, none of you can leave. Luo En said coldly. The indifferent tone made Ancient Sage Green's hair stand on end, and his heart fudged. What about you? Luo En glanced at Whitebeard and Kaido. Kong will win. Whitebeard took a deep breath and said seriously. He really couldn't figure out why Kong should lose. In the current situation, no matter how you look at it, Kong has an absolute advantage, and Luffy may fall down in the next moment. There's no way he'd choose Luffy. Laozi also chooses Kong, Kaido said immediately. Although Kong was what he had in mind, Kaido felt a lot less pressure after seeing both Green Ancient Sage and Whitebeard choose Kong. And if you were wrong before, you can't be wrong this time, right? The situation in the battle between Kong and Luffy is already so obvious, is there any need to gamble? Kaido expressed his incomprehension. Luo En smiled slightly and finalized. Okay, you all are optimistic about Kong. But what about the bet you two made? World government is putting everyone's lives on the line. Seeing Luo En's glance, Whitebeard and Kaido were startled. They opened their mouths but hesitated. It's not like they are gambling with the lives of the entire pirate group. Even if it looks like a win. If you win, you can leave. If you lose, you will join the Spade Pirates and become an affiliated pirate group under Laozi.